everybody, and welcome to Oulton Park for the latest round in the Pro Touring Esports Championship as we near now the end of the season. Just 3 rounds to go at the end of this one, and the championship is getting ever more interesting as well between Matt Richards and Tom Stevens. Just 13 points heading into this round after both of them sharing out the wins at Knockhill in a great trio of races 2 weeks ago. It's myself, Ian O'Leary, and Ashley Denman in commentary for you once again tonight, with Rich Weverall behind the cameras of this broadcast. Once again, good to be back alongside you, Ash. Good for another round of this championship to come along 2 weeks later, as always, of course. Really looking forward to this because the championship is getting ever closer, and Oulton Park is our latest venue. I think this layout is probably the best of the layouts in Oulton Park as well. You notice that chicane just on the run where they'd normally go right the way down to the longer hairpin down at turn 5. They cut that off and go into a hairpin at that corner, I'd say, instead. And this is the Oulton Park that provides the best racing for me in these touring cars.
Hello everyone, thanks for always having me back here. It's always a pleasure. I'd have to agree with you as well there, Ewan. Definitely, it gives the drivers that extra, I'd say, heavy braking zone to really look for a move, and it really is the best overtaking opportunity on this circuit layout. So yes, certainly in agreement with that one, and it really does provide a spectacle. Of course, the nature of Oulton Park here, it is one of those circuits that has been pretty much untouched from its inaugural outlay from back in 1954. So you are, of course, being greeted with the grassy patches at the edge of the circuit. It's nice and narrow as well, so not much tarmac, not much runoff area. So it is another brilliant test for the drivers. A lot more, shall we say, windy corners here, so a lot more speed needing to be carried, less heavy braking zones. So it should provide a different challenge for the drivers again tonight.
Yeah, it is a much different challenge compared to some of the other tracks on this schedule. Speaking of the schedule, by the way, remaining in the season, 2 weeks' time, Donington Grand Prix circuit. Already been to the Donington National Circuit, but Grand Prix circuit coming up for round 7. Snetterton is the penultimate round before going to Brands Hatch Grand Prix for the final round on the 22nd of March. All live here, of course, same place you found this broadcast. And it's going to be an exciting end to the season because the championship standings are so close. Matt Richards is leading by 13 points over Tom Stevens, with a bit of a gap now appearing to the rest. Fraser Hart, can we still call him a championship contender? He's probably an outsider, with Callum Wilson as well, who closed right up to him at Knockhill last week. Wilson got 3 top 6 results. Fraser Hart was only in the top 12 once. Jordan Richardson rounds out the top 5 and is probably cut adrift at this stage. Chris Grevitt is next, only just in front of Luke Mitchell. And Cedar Valle somehow still hasn't got a podium. I'd expect that to change at some point, to be honest, very soon. Alessandro Kappa and Scott Mitchell-Marm round out the top 10. You can see lower than 8th. It does start to get a little bit adrift now for some of them. Powermax Racing are still leading the team's championship, but not by as much as they were before. 68 points now is the gap over Rapper Racing. Brabham Motorsport confirmed thoroughly into third now, with Simsport UK and Unlimited Esports battling it out for 4th place down the bottom end of those standings. It's very much been a case, Ash, of Rapper Racing getting the momentum behind their backs in the last few weeks. Last week again, or last round again, Tom Stevens taking 2 of the victories and 3rd place in the final race. The reverse grid race was very, very impressive, but in those race victories, he has had the likes of Luke Mitchell and so on right around, and Scott Mitchell-Marm right around him. They got a 1-2 in race 2, for example, at Knockhill. So they've all been circling Stevens, helping him, first of all, win races for the Drivers' Championship, but also that's helped the team out now, and they've closed the gap to just 68 points. Yes,
certainly has. You mentioned they've been on a run. I mean, it really has been since the new year has set in that Rapper Racing have been on an absolute charge. You couldn't see it on the standings that came on your screen a moment ago, but like we said there, Luke Mitchell with Tom Stevens in that Rapper Racing. He's in 7th, and he's only 3 points behind Jordan Richardson, who was 5th on that standing table you saw a moment ago. So it really is a close battle there, and it is hotting up in that lower half of that top 10, shall we say. But yeah, equally, the team itself as a whole doing a fantastic job here in 2026. They'll be looking for another strong finish here. Even sort of in a general nutshell, as of course all the drivers are. But I mean, you can see there, Tom Stevens is back on the top at the moment, provisional pole. Fraser Hart's there as well. And we haven't mentioned yet, Ewan, the penalty situation for qualifying here. The biggest one there on that list is Matt Richards.
Yep, indeed. He's got a qualifying ban for the next race he attends, which obviously is this one. He will be staying in pit lane throughout the session. Carl Benton's also got one, so has Archie Jardine, Stuart Rolfe and Alexander Serema. They have all got to stay in the garage for this session. Carl Benton is doing just that. Stuart Rolfe is serving his penalty as well. Luke Mitchell hasn't got a time yet, but he can go out, and he is now out on the racetrack. So just 3 of those 5 are actually in the server tonight, and they're serving their qualifying bans. Alessandro Cappa is going to have a pit lane start for the first race, I believe, but I don't think he's here today. I don't see him at the moment, so that will have to roll over to the next race that he is at. But yeah, as you mentioned, big moment there to have Matt Richards down the order, and not the circuit you really wanted at either. I mean, there's not any great circuits really to have it. I think maybe if you could choose, Silverstone National might be one of those. But maybe this is where you choose to have it. I mean, it is. It's one of those places that's quite narrow in places, but it's not impossible to overtake around it. I am wondering. I'm curious how Matt Richards is sizing himself up for this round, because he has had to start from the back, and he's known for some time that he's going to be right up against it from right from race 1 in this field.
I mean, just to add insult to injury to him, he's also got the biggest amount of ballast on board for race number 1, of course, being the previous race winner at Knock Hill. I think he's fortunate, really, that this didn't happen at Knock Hill for him, because that was a circuit that was even harder to overtake at. We saw their last time out, they really did come at a bit of a premium, but when you saw them, they were pretty special. If my memory and recollection from last time we came here with the T6 Motorsport outfit, in their touring car challenges, it was with Dara, unfortunately, on that occasion, Ewan. Unfortunately, however you want to word it.
Unfortunately.
Either way, we did see some fantastic overtaking on that evening and occasion, so it is definitely possible round here. Don't count it out, but it is one of those things. It's a bit of a challenge to get alongside and make that move stick.
Tom Stevens still at the top of the standings. Now the first driver to get into the 1-minute 22s at this circuit. Now Hart goes over the line, goes up to third place for Fraser Hart. He does need a good night tonight, I think, to maintain championship contention, because in fairness, if Tom Stevens goes on to take the championship lead, then suddenly you could say, well, Hart's only 29 points off him, so maybe he's not out of it completely yet, but I say he does need a good night tonight. Studio Vaya comes over the line now as well, still hasn't got a podium somehow in one of these races, and he's up to 6th place there with that lap time, so I'm not sure the chances have greatly been improved with that one. Not too many personal bests or purple laps coming up at the moment, but I won't speak too soon, because we've seen so many times across this season the final lap of the session really being able to take pole.
We have seen it. The only thing is, Matt Richards is not on the track, so it would normally be him that comes over the line right at the death and snatches it away, and we're not going to see that from him this evening. But maybe someone else can take the torch, as it were, and pick up where he unfortunately can't take off from exactly. But yeah, at the moment it's still Tom Stevens out front, Gravett, Hart, from Tom Stevens to Gravett, actually, that 10th there, and it does then of course tighten up a bit further. That's Jordan Hyde coming across the line, he's 12th at the moment. This is Fraser Hart, could be an improvement from him as he now comes up to the line. Was it an improvement though? Doesn't look like it on that timing tower. I don't think it was. So Scott Mitchell-Marm though, 10th with less than a minute left to go, as he now makes his way up towards Druids and this sort of back half of the circuit. A lot of drivers, and I think for spectators as well, this is a fantastic part of this circuit here at Oulton Park, and if you can get some side-by-side through there, it really is special.
Yeah, it is. I find it in real life actually quite a difficult place to watch from. It's in certain places anyway. It's quite hard to really see a lot of the track, but there you go. Take yourself in front of the hairpin, as I did. I think is probably the best idea.
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's. No, although, as I say, I don't rate it quite as high on the list of great circuits on the calendar, to be honest. But it's not bad, and this layout is certainly this venue playing at the best of its abilities, I think, on this layout with a very sharp hairpin, and it is rather a big braking zone as well, which does help in terms of overtaking. So let's see how we go tonight anyway. And not too many lap times going to be coming in late here. Luke Mitchell goes purple in the first sector, so maybe there's chance here, but maybe it's only just to put Rafa Racing 1 and 2 again at the end of this qualifying session.
I think that'd be something if they can pull that one off. Here we go. We're going to jump on board with him then, as he has just made his way round, I believe it is Hislops and Knickerbrook, up Clay Hill now, and then in towards Druids, and then we get to Lodge and Dearly for the final few corners as well. And this is the part of the circuit you really also want to carry as much momentum and speed as you can as well, of course, because then you do have a nice little run here down to a heavy break. So another good overtaking spot. Let's see what Luke Mitchell can do then as he comes up towards the start-finish line.
Well, he's not going to go any better than Tom Stevens because he's gone quicker himself again. So 22.8 now the target time. Can Mitchell get over him? Maybe. He goes up to... No. How is he not improved from there? That's unbelievable. Chris Grevitt has set some personal bests, and Sido Fire gets in front of him, but Grevitt surely is going to replace him in second. No. Well... Two drivers are expected to definitely improve, haven't gone anywhere, and Sido Vaya, who I wasn't expecting to improve, has, and he moves up to the front row. There's your late lap and the late change, but it's for Sido Vaya instead to get to second. It's still a quarter of a second for Tom Stevens. That's one of the more dominant qualifying performances we'll see this season. Sido Vaya in second, then it's Chris Grevitt, who rounds off 3 different teams in the top 3. Fraser Hart will start from 4th. That's solid from him ahead of Carlo Messina. Luke Mitchell will start from 6th place, but he'll be disappointed that he couldn't get up towards his teammate there. Scott Mitchell-Marm is there in 7th, with Jordan Richardson. Callum Wilson, perhaps surprisingly, down in 8th and 9th. First of the Power Max guys down in 8th and 9th. And then it's Fabian Michelon who rounds out the top 10. Within a second of pole was Alan Smith and Jordan Hyde. Matthew Williams, who was next to Simon Tribeck. Darren Wright rounding out the top 15. Yaroslav Fides, 16th out of Alan Axon. Dave Brewster. Jordan Osborne within 2 seconds. Olivia Krasnowska was the final driver in the field. Matt Richards, Stuart Rolfe and Carl Benton were not permitted to qualify, and they will start from the back end of the field. But the late lap came from Via that time, and he got to the front row. Amazed that Mitchell didn't get there instead. But I think it was that run through Druids where he went really wide that cost him in the end. It was all the wrong line, and seemingly it cost him all of the good work he put in previously.
Certainly looks that way, but good news for, of course, Ido Weah. And with Via, I should say, sorry, if he does get that podium tonight here, Ewan, of course he is the highest at the moment. Do you want to have a guess who it then carries on over to next in line for that championship title there, or should I just put you out your misery?
I'll have a guess. I'm not going to cheat by looking. Don't worry. I'll go with... I can't remember who's just below Kappa. There's someone below Kappa who I think it might be.
Mitchell Marm's below Kappa.
Yeah. No, has he been? Maybe he's been on the podium. Who is it?
Well, he was on the podium last time out. Race number 2 at Knockhill. It will go to Jordan Hyde. Should Via pick up that podium that he looks like he should have done it already. I'm really surprised he hasn't got there, but clearly this could be his best chance then of this series. Being on that front row as well with 2nd place, and I know he's got speed. He's definitely got a ton of speed at his disposal. He is the reigning Porsche 992 champion here at T6 Motorsport, so he knows what to do with a car. Let's put it that way. He knows how to win a championship, so it's quite surprising we haven't seen him up there yet.
Yeah. Even if I had remembered that Mitchell Marr was on the podium 2 weeks ago, I would absolutely have been sold on Alan Axon as well, by the way. I forgot about his podiums too. But there you go. Jordan Hyde 12th for reference. We don't see him in our top 10 rundown, but he's 12th currently with no podiums. As you say, though, it's amazing that Via hasn't been on the podium yet. The thing about Via that is even more amazing, perhaps, though, is that he's finished in the points every race. I'm not sure how many guys can boast that, because even Matt Richards, to be fair, is one of the others, but after that you are struggling for names, especially down sort of in the part of the field where Via is. You're really struggling to find names who are able to do that. Only been outside the top 10 as well twice. We've had 15 races now, so Yeah, he's had a brilliant season. Just a very narrow window of where he's been finishing, really, between 4th and 12th, really, or 4th and 14th. He's finished every single time. Surely tonight is going to be the night. And, this has got to be one of the best opportunities, hasn't it? Because he, in the final race of Knockhill, finished 7th, so he hasn't got any weight on board. Tom Stevens has. Maybe even Wight can go on and win this from the front row. He's starting in a very good position.
Definitely an opportunity for him here, yeah, definitely. I mean, with Wight, it's one of those things where it almost you almost want to give it like the Juan Mir effect, don't you, from MotoGP, if you're familiar with this motorsport, 2 wheels rather than 4. Of course, he won the championship, I think, back in 2020, of course, reduced calendar. But again, I think he only won 1 race his entire season. Other than that, he was just consistently picking up points. And that was a special season for him. And if Wight, I will get there eventually. maybe if he was able to pick up a few more 4th, something like that, maybe he'd be a bit higher up. But I mean, he's 75 points off Matt Richards. It's not a million miles away, but I think it may just be a tad off to be able to go for that title run.
The only thing you have to remember is that a W is a V. There you go, and that's it. Hence why my name has never been said correctly outside of these aisles, but that's entirely subject for a different day. But yeah, he's in such a great position on the outside of the front row. He really is, and he's such a solid driver as well. Anyone who's been following any sort of R-Factor 2 racing for I want to say a decade more, he will certainly have heard of Cito Wight. Down the years in many different categories as well, but I think touring car / GT sort of racing is where he excels most, and we may get an example of that coming up tonight with the first of our races. Just to remind you of the format, the first race is set by the qualifying session that we've just seen, but the previous race from Knockhill puts ballast on those who finished inside the top 5. So, as you mentioned earlier, Matt Richards is going to have to come from the back with 50 kilograms on board. Tom Stevens is going to have to do it from the front with 30 kilograms on board. Callum Wilson will also have 10 on. Luke Mitchell 20. Alessandro Cappa, although he's not here, would have had 40 kilograms on board. So that is how the weight is set. Then the ballast is set for race number 2 by the top 5 in this race. Heading into the next one, grid will be the same. And then it's the reverse grid race, which is a random draw from 6 to 12. I have a feeling we might be on the bigger end again because we had quite a small reverse grid from what I remember last week after weeks and weeks of big grids. I think we might well revert back to the big grid again, but we'll spin the wheel towards the end of race 2 and we'll see how we go for that reverse grid race at the end of the day as well. And at the end of the day, who is going to be leading the championship here? Ash, 13 points covering Matt Richards and Tom Stevens. To be honest, I'd be tempted to say that Stevens might be leading this championship by the end of the day.
I think that could be well and truly correct, Ewan. It's very, very difficult here for Matt Richards. All that ballast, he's starting right at the back. It's a track that is, let's say, fairly difficult to overtake. It is not impossible. There's plenty of heavy braking zones to really send it. And we've seen he is very much an artist on the brakes, so we know what he is capable of. So I would imagine you'll see him run through the field, through the bottom half of it at least. But then as he gets towards that top 10 echelon, maybe it will start to become a bit more of a challenge for him when you get to the quicker guys in this field. But certainly going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Of course, Tom Stevens has got his work cut out still at the other end. He's still got that ballast, and we've seen the gap in qualifying. It's not a huge one between Wight and Gravette behind. Don't forget Fraser Hart, he's right there in the mix as well. And these guys all have incredible pace, and so far this season have really done amazing things. One other guy just to mention out there, keep an eye on him. He's in the middle of the field, but Callum Wilson, he didn't have the qualifying he was looking for, but he has got a little bit of a bug. So he's a bit under the weather today, but let's see what he can manage in all of this.
Yeah, indeed. We'll see how he goes as the drivers get themselves towards the end of the lap here, and very shortly we'll be underway for 20 odd minutes of racing here from Oulton Park. The start going to be so important. Track position could perhaps be a little bit more important here than it has been in some recent weeks, certainly than what it was at the Silverstone National Circuit for our first race back after Christmas. Last week it was relatively important too from Knockhill, but it was possible to overtake there, and it will be again here tonight as well. 23 touring cars on the grid here. There's Matt Richards, the 21st of them for the championship leader. A big first race coming up here for him as we get ready for race number 1 in the Pro Touring Esports Championship from Oulton Park here tonight. Round number 6 of our championship. Not far from getting underway. Here we go. Tom Stevens, big chance here tonight to take the championship lead. Can he do it with a victory in race 1? The green flag waves and we are underway. A very uniform start across the top 4, but Colin Messina's under pressure from Scott Mitchell already. He looks down the inside, it's 3 wide, involving 2 of the Rafa Racing cars, and off goes Colin Messina, straight off the circuit through turn 1, and the Powermax Racing cars are now getting involved. As shuffled backwards is Luke Mitchell. There's a big slide meantime, oh dear, and off the road there in the background there for Luke Mitchell as well. The Powermax Racing drivers getting all around Luke Mitchell, as Rafa Racing, apart from their race leader, struggled to get away in quite the same way they have done in previous weeks. Luke Mitchell is on the outside here, and look at this, he's being moved down to 10th position now.
Yeah, that was a chaotic start if there ever was one. Further down the order, I think Dave Brewster got incredibly wide out of turn number 1. I saw him in the background just darting across the grass. He managed to rejoin safely, thankfully, as they now file their way through the little chicane there at the back end of the circuit, sort of Hislop, sorry. Now up towards Druids for the first time. Stevens via Gravette, 1, 2 and 3. Hart still 4th. Mitchell Marm has climbed 2, as well as Richardson and Wilson. So that Powermax Racing team have got a pretty good start there at the back end of the top 10. But Matt Richards still down in 21st. No gain so far.
Yeah, that is the biggest surprise, I suppose. Side by side, meantime, again, Luke Mitchell's regaining these places immediately here. Back up to 9th place at the expense of Alan Smith. Mitchell was very briefly in 11th as Fabian Michelon got alongside into the hairpin on the opening lap, but couldn't actually get past. Mitchell now passed Smith and into 9th position, so the recovery begins for him. But as you say, the recovery hasn't even started for Matt Richards. He's still not gained any places. Olivia Krajnowska is the first one on the list, and at the moment Richards can't get past. Brewster is right in behind at the moment. I can't actually see Stuart Rolfe having started this race, so I can't get a timing from him. Now he's underway, sorry, 10 seconds or so behind the rest of the field, but at the back of the field, that is not the progress that Richards was hoping for here. I think the target had to have been top 10 by the end of race 1, but maybe that was shooting a bit too high.
I think that the end of race 2, aim for sort of that top 10 bracket, because you've got a really good shot of getting that reverse grid pole for the final race this evening. So I mean, what he really needs to do here, just work his way up from that sort of P21. If he can get into the upper teens, sort of, 12, 13, that sort of mark, he'll then have all the ballast removed for that second race, and then he can really go try charging deep into that top 10, and that's what he'll be needing to do here tonight. But I mean, he was a second slower than Olivia Krasnowska on that first lap. I mean, potentially a bit of a hold up from the pack and all of that kind of thing, but even on this second lap he still hasn't got past yet.
Yeah, indeed, it's not looking good back there at all. Meantime, Alan Accent gets a good run out of the final corner on Darren Wright in towards turn 1 of the next lap, and Wright just pulls across to defend position there and stay in 15th place. Look at the way they take the grass and the inside curve there through turn number 1. Do get that little bit of space on the outside of turn number 1 just to run a little bit wide. It's a very high speed and committed corner, as is Cascades down the hill, and this is where the overtakes have to happen, down into the hairpin. And so far they haven't for Tom Stevens. They have all stayed behind him. In fact, the top 4 have stayed very similar across the board in the opening laps of this race. As Jordan Hyde drops down the field, he's not going to be getting his podium here in race number 1. But this is a controlled front of the field from Tom Stevens. No pressure really from Cedar Vire behind.
Yeah, Hyde has dropped right the way to the back, so something's clearly happened there, causing him to fall down the field up towards up Clay Hill and towards Druids once again. You can see there, it's probably the yellow flag there of Jordan Hyde, but I'm sure he'll pick it up and move along shortly. Richards, you can now see him on the timing tower, is 19th position, so he has gained a couple up to this point, but I mean, the gaps are already branching out, and it's going to be a really tall order for him to climb ever higher. I mean, he's 2 seconds off Yaroslav Fides.
Yeah, That's because Krajzanovska, by the way, has dropped to the back end of the field for whatever reason here on the timing as well, dropping even behind Stuart Rolfe at the back of the field. So a couple of places made by Richards, both of them though due to problems for others, which is not maybe a great thing going forward. But again, he's got the weight on board, so to be fair, maybe I am expecting too much of him. Luke Mitchell, meantime, is on the back of Colin Messina, who he was side by side with through turn 1, don't forget, on the opening lap of this race. Messina ended up out wide through turn 1. Then Mitchell ended up going pushed wide through Cascades, and that was definitely wide from Messina there, coming out of the hairpin on the run down towards the chicane at Hislops. There's going to be a move here. That was handed on a plate, really. Messina trying to get on the power too early, got out wide into that other chicane, and, well, that's a gift to Luke Mitchell, who's up to 8th place now.
Yeah, textbook overtake, really. Wait for the mistake from the car in front and then pounce on your opportunity. So, very nice overtake there from Luke Mitchell. This is a bit further back, I believe, one of the rocket cars. Just trying to work out exactly who that is. It's Simon Trebek. Of course, we've got 3 of the rocket cars out there, so it's not always easy to figure that one out. But he is right in amongst it here between Williams and Wright for 12th and 13th and 14th position. And not far off them is his teammate of Axon. But I mean, we said this at the start, and it was going to be one of those circuits where it is tricky to get a move and make it stick. You really just want to try and play a bit of a psychological game, I would say, and try and force your rival into a mistake.
Oh dear, look at that, right there, getting hit by Alan Axon just about through turn number 1 there. So it's nose to tail for, what is that, 14th place rather, for Darren Wright. These guys just positioning themselves for the final points in the day, and maybe for a reverse grid pole when it comes to race 3, if they can just gain a few more places in the next race. And then you never know, if you start on pole for race 3, you've got a very, very good chance of doing something in that final race of the day, especially considering this circuit being relatively difficult to overtake on. Look at the gaps we're seeing here out front, just over sort of, I'd say, those frustrating space gaps really, just over half a second, just a bit too far away to be making a move from, but you can absolutely recognise that you're in a fight. Fraser Hart perhaps the closest to getting somewhere, but he goes a bit wide through Juries that time, and Chris Krevitt gets away from him all over again. This is going to be a long 15 minutes as far as making these overtakes in the top 4 is concerned.
Yeah, so I feel like we haven't had this really all season long so far, Ewan, and this is going to be a move here though. That is, I believe, Trebek finally getting the move done as we get some lovely camera shots there of the circuit itself. But yeah, Trebek finally up into 12th spot, getting past Williams. He now just needs to make sure he cements it, and I'm sure he will. He did seem a little bit quicker there at the start. Yeah, this could be one of those weird ones, Ewan, where we get the big gaps that are forming and maybe you have to focus on a couple of battles here and there. But yeah, the most of the field, they seem to have spread out quite a bit.
Yeah, they do. Alan Smith now having a go at Colin Messina in towards Island Bend. Won't get through there either. Fabio Michelon now 11th, is there or thereabouts as well. Smith was the one who was obviously displaced Michelon from the top 10. Now he's trying to get into 9th with Colin Messina just in behind. It's all pretty close at the front of the field, and indeed through the midfield as well. But as far as the overtakes are concerned, they're fewer and further between. That is the a bigger concern for these guys. Oh, that's wide from Via, and this could give the chance to Grevitt. This is what Grevitt's been waiting for, the mistake and the opportunity now into the final turn. Via felt the need to defend there. Tom Stevens is going to have a second's lead by the start-finish line here because the battle is on for second.
Yeah, it was nice defending there from Via. He's still got to do it as they make their way over the start to begin another lap here through turn number 1 of Old Hall Corner. And then the little run down through Dentons and into Cascades. And of course, that tricky little bump there, Ewan. I don't know if you see it as they fly there, just there before the entry of the corner. I don't know if you've tried it on here, R-Factor 2 here and these touring cars, but it very much unsettles you on the brakes and it can easily cause a lock. So, I mean, these guys, they do it lap after lap seamlessly, almost flawlessly, you could argue. But I don't have that luck. But so clearly, a skill issue on my end. But it really is impressive if you've ever tried it yourself to see them do it.
Richard's going to get past Yosafidis here in towards the hairpin. That's late on the brakes, but it needs to be if you're going to actually get through. And there he goes, up to 18th place. Can he get any points out of this first race of the day? We will wait and see. I have a feeling he will do, but he's got to get involved in this group if he wants to, so maybe that could be tricky. We'll wait and see. The most difficult corner, it seems to me, for these drivers, so far in this race, seems to be Druids. I mean, we saw it in qualifying with Luke Mitchell, I think it was, who was on a very good lap that could have taken pole even, certainly could have taken the front row, and he went wide through there and the lap was ruined. And we just saw it there for Cedar Vaya, just running a little bit wide and opening up opportunity for Grevitt. And that final corner is going to become a real overtaking chance if Druids continues to be such an ordeal as it's been so far.
That was it almost looked desperate from Smith there. I think he just maybe got a bit caught out by Messina. But yeah, you're quite right, Ewan. Druids, it is one of those tricky corners. It's the corner, I would argue, requires probably the most commitment around this circuit here at Oulton Park. You really need a lot of confidence to absolutely go for it. And if you are lacking it just a touch, you can see there a small lock of the brakes for Williams. That's what I was just referring to as you go down Dentons and into Cascades. Easy to do. But yeah, Druids, it's a commitment corner. If you're not committed or, half-hearted going into it, that's where your time's being left on the table. As that was a small little hiccup there from Trebek, but I think he was all right with that one. Little nudge from behind and A-OK.
Well, they'll all get away with that further down the field. As we jump back to this battle for 10th again. Smith so close to Messina here, showing what can be done really with the pressure. And here he goes into Druids. Maybe there'll be a move here. No, he's going to wait for the final turn if it's going to happen at all here. But Messina's got that line much better this time round. He's put it back for the second apex. And here comes Smith again. It would have to be late on the brakes, and he's not going to do it unless Messina's gone deep, and he has. So the pressure's got to him slightly. He missed the apex there, but that didn't quite open the opportunity there for Smith.
No, he just needs to stick close here, get the run down towards Islands, the next hairpin. If he can stay close enough, that's going to be his best chance, as that's wide there from Messina again. He really is pushing the boundaries of this circuit and what is probably allowed by the in-game system as well. And he has just about got that gap, I would say, into the next braking zone. It's going to be difficult for Smith here. I mean, it's one of these tracks I asked him earlier. I ask all the drivers, as I do every time, sort of what they think, what their expectations, and maybe a bit of an insight. And he did say it's one of those tracks he sort of loves and hates. And he just seems to have, he does seem to have the worst luck, he says, but it is one of his favourite circuits as a whole. But it sounds like a bit of a love-hate relationship there for Smith around here. Yeah,
it certainly does. Yeah, we were all having a giggle about his comments to you before the race. Oh yeah, very amusing.
That's Jordan's.
Very good. Oh, is that different? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, right. Sorry, I thought that was the same.
We'll bring that up in a moment.
Just, oh. Okay, I'll leave you to tell that story a bit later, but it did make me laugh. Meantime, Fraser Hart on board with him, with Chris Grevitt just in front still, and Cedar Vaya there as well, just within a second of Tom Stevens, but not really applying any pressure at all to the race leader. And is there any pressure on these guys second, third, fourth? I would argue not. It's more back here, and Messina is still in front of Smith. This is the second group further behind with Alan Axon, and Williams. Axon goes down the inside into 13th position, so and goes a bit wide. Matthew Williams tries to come back at him down the other side of the hill and in towards Cascades. He's going to get back through again, is he? Or is Axon still alongside? He's only just there. And Darren Wright is in there as well. Jordan Osborne catches up now too in 16th position. Somehow they don't change positions here. Williams gaining that 13th back again from Alan Axon.
Oh, I mean, it was a brilliant attempt for Axon into turn one. You never normally see a move being pulled off there. I thought he might have done it. Went deep, and that just allowed Williams to find that open door, slip back through, and then keep hold of that position. But, I mean, this looks like it could change hands very soon indeed, because they're all lining up now behind Williams there in 13th. Jordan Osborne, as you said, has just joined on to the party. Shall I put everyone out of their misery? They're probably still wondering. Jordan Osborne, he described it as Stockholm Syndrome, if everybody's wondering. He says, with slick tyres, it's a beautiful circuit here in the UK. and he wants to marry it, but it is very sadistic in that it is narrow and it's a very small ribbon of tarmac designed by people who hate cars. So it's very much a tale of two halves, that one from Jordan Osborne there.
Yes, I've never heard anybody describe themselves as having Stockholm syndrome with a racetrack, but there you go.
As well.
That's how he described it. It made me laugh. Meantime, second side by side, and Acton gets through on Matthew Williams in towards turn number 1, and this time he doesn't allow himself to get re-overtaken. Meantime, Grevitt's gone for second, and he may have lost third. Fraser Hart just slipped straight through there with the assistance of his teammate Cedar Vire. He's got up into third, and maybe those teammates now are going to orchestrate another pass to allow Hart into second place, because he does need some solid results here tonight to stay in the championship race. But as he tried to overtake Vire, Chris Grevitt has just potentially cost himself a podium.
Certainly looks that way. Mitchell Malm there lurking in the background as well. He's been slowly and quietly closing that gap down. It was 2 seconds at one point earlier on. It's now under a second now, as this is a slow up here. Is this potentially the orchestrated overtake you were describing? Grevitt is definitely going to try and sneak in through as well. Vire goes deep. That is going to open the door for Grevitt, and just like that, 2 positions lost for Vire. Could it be an extra one, as Mitchell Malm has got the run? He's on the inside down the pit straight. He's going to be very brave on the brakes here into turn 1. Side by side, it's not over yet, Ewan.
And wide, very wide, and Mitchell Malm's going to be through here. I think clear by Cascades. Not quite. Oh, he'd still just about kept his nose in there, did Vire. He was so nearly clear, Mitchell Malm, but now he will be. On the outside line, he gets through Cascades and into Island Bend. He might be forced to defend again, and he will be forced to defend again. Cena Vire to the outside. He's been forced. Oh, was he forced onto the grass, or was he going for a gap that wasn't there? That will be the discussion. But Vire has lost 3 places now in these last couple of moments. All it needs is one moment to kick things off in these kinds of groups at Oulton Park, and we've had that moment. It's sent Vire from the front to the back.
Oh, I don't want to say it was commentator's curse, but I felt like we were putting a lot of pressure on him at the start. He's no longer on that podium spot, is Vire, but he's still in the mix, so it could change again in these closing 5 minutes. Who knows? And a very exciting racing going on there at that front pack. This is obviously a bit further back with it was Smith, Messina, Michelin, and this is a bit further back still. I believe this is Williams, and he's having to defend finally, I say finally, from Matt Richards behind, who has caught up and is now eyeing up some more positions here. He's got 5 minutes, he needs 2 positions, and he'll finally pick up some points here in this first race. So challenge on for Matt Richards.
Yeah, indeed. Richards still 16th, by the way. There goes down the inside into the final corner on Williams. He can't get through there, but he's just a couple of positions away from points now. And anybody in this group is possible for him to reach, I think. 13th place would be his maximum. There's only 4.5 minutes left to go, though, so he may well run out of time. Here he comes out of turn number 1. A very good run there, and he's on the outside of Williams now, coming into Cascades. Right round the outside, in fact. Oh, contact nearly. Very nearly contact. And Matt Richards has gotten into 16th position here in front of Williams, surely now. And Benton's going to try and follow 2 of the qualifying band drivers. Oh, making contact there. As Benton got down the inside, he actually hit Richards. Williams now demoted. Jordan Hyde is now going to be coming up as well here on the way towards Hislops. This is Dave Brewster in there as well. All of those non-qualifiers up and battling here late on for just the opportunity to get a few points.
That's what you love about touring car here. One driver goes for a move, secures it, and before you know it, there's another one sneaking their way through down the inside. A bit of door banging is always okay in my book, particularly in this kind of racing. And yeah, Carl Benton, of course, took full advantage of Matt Richards sneaking down the inside of Williams, and rightly so. Fair play to him. Almost cost Richards the entire move, but didn't. So thankfully, I think they'll probably get a slap on the wrist and they'll move on. This is back towards the front though again, and this is Vire on Scott Mitchell Malm for 4th position. Mitchell Malm is a second back from Grevitt, so just lost a little bit of pace after making that position up, but race still on here.
Yep. It is. I can't see it changing personally. I don't think Vire's going to get past Mitchell Malm, but you never know. We'll keep an eye on it. Down the hill here for Brewster and Hyde again. in 19th place in the battle for 19th position. This is where the big group is really, right away from Jordan Osborne, because Alan Axon's been able to get clear of all this now. Osborne is at the front of the group. He's looking down the inside. There is Hyde on Brewster. Not going anywhere there. And this, meantime, is Darren Wright with Osborne at the head of the group. It's not quite the group like what we saw earlier, but you can see them all relatively close. Osborne goes in deep there. He might have even been touched by Wright in towards Hislops. There's only 2 laps to go, though. Not much time left now for this to change.
Yeah, not a lot of time left at all. Matt Richards is just sneaking in the frame there, as you can see. So he's chasing these 2 down, and that is, of course, points for him if he can get past even just one of them. So he'll be definitely trying to eye that up. And of course, we should see him climb more in the next race. But that was also looking a bit desperate. Maybe even a late move from Osborne to try and defend. But Darren Wright went for a line. It closed very rapidly. Had to reshift his course and did it very spectacularly, as it's still going on now towards turn number 1. Osborne just about doing some good defending. That looks a little bit cheeky. But I think, again, one of those things he'll get away with, but all of
Oh, no! Oh, no! He won't get away with that. He's just dumped him in the wall. Oh, big crash in the background for Osborne, and Richards is lucky to skip through without any further trouble there. I'm sure Richards will get this position off Darren right now, but that was a big crash coming towards Cascades. We'll need to really evaluate who was coming across on who there, but when you're the driver behind, it is never a good look that the one in front ends up spun around in the wall in quite such a fashion.
Yeah, it normally doesn't look well on your CV, does it? What happened here? Oh, well, let me just tell you, my side. But yeah, either way, what has happened? Jordan Osborne spun down and out. He's still 16th, but he has got Carl Benton right up his chuff now. But it does promote Matt Richards into that points position. So he's in 15th. And he'll try and look forward to the race number 2 here without the ballast on board. As we're being told, we've got a replay. So let's see here, Ewan, what has happened?
Oh, that's a hard call, isn't it?
It's very 50-50, isn't it?
It is, yeah, because initially Osborne definitely comes across. And look right there, as the contact begins, Wright is on the white line and can't be squeezed any further. However, Wright then does come off the white line himself. So, I mean, I don't know.
Maybe that going to 1.
Yes, maybe that will be called a racing incident at the end of the day. It's impossible to know, but yeah, that's not quite as simple as I first thought. I didn't say it, but I must admit when I first saw it, I thought Darren Wright had just taken him out completely. But that's not accurate. Having seen the replay, that is it's much more difficult to decipher than that. From the looks of that replay, that was wide from Via, and any chance that he got of taking 4th place off Scott Mitchell-Marm have gone away now. They were probably quite slim anyway, but he's definitely going to be finishing at best in 5th, and somehow he's still avoiding the podium in this season. Tom Stevens can't stop finishing on the podium though, and he can't stop finishing on the top step. 2 wins 2 weeks ago, 2 wins the round before that at Silverstone. Well, he's got race 1 again for the 3rd round in a row. Tom Stevens over the line, a winner again in the Pro Touring Esports Championship, this time from Oulton Park. His 3rd race 1 in a row. That was dominant again, and Tom Stevens, it will be, as it stands, the championship leader in front of Matt Richards, who only gets 2 points from that round.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking almost inevitable. Stevens will be on that top step again. It's going to be down to the getaway, of course, when we get to race 2. So I won't wish the race away. But remember, he had 30 kilograms of ballast for this race 1. It's only an extra 20. I'd imagine it's not a vast difference for him. But here comes the rest crossing the line now further down the order. That was Brewster. And then we've got, I believe, that's Darren Wright as well. And the last few cars, Yaroslav Fides there, 20th in the end. And I'd say it's probably been a nice race for these guys further down the order, Ewan, because they have definitely got a lot of screen time this evening, being that all the battling seemed to happen at the bottom end.
Yeah, it did. And we'll see how race 2 goes with the ballast and those coming through without ballast a little bit further down the field. But Tom Stevens wins this one. He gets the first race win of the day out of the way. With Fraser Hart and Chris Grevitt also joining him on the podium. Rough Racing won 4-8 in the end in that race. Still the best of any team, I think. Scott Mitchell-Marm in 4th place. Then Cito Via before the 2 Power Match Racing drivers. They went from 8th and 9th to 6th and 7th in that race. Luke Mitchell finishes 8th ahead of Alan Smith, with Simon Trebek rounding out the top 10. Colin Messina ends up 11th in front of Fabian Michelon with then Alan Axon. Matt Richards ends up 14th. He gets 2 points. Carl Benton rounding out those who score points. Jordan Hyde misses out in the end, along with Dave Brewster, Stuart Rolfe, Darren Wright, and in the end, Matthew Williams has DNF'd from that race. Jaroslav Fides did cross the line, though. Jordan Osborne and Olivia Krajnowska both did not finish as well. So all those starting towards the back for race number 2. Coming up in just a few moments' time. The warm-up session for that race is just underway now. But a change in the championship lead for the first time here this season, pretty much, because Matt Richards won the first race of the season at Donington National, and he's been up there, if not leading, ever since. But he doesn't have drop rounds to fall off, don't forget, and to be fair, neither does Stevens, but currently Richards' drop rounds are -1, -1, and 0, so he's got to score points every time, and I think a couple of points, 14th place, I think he'll be relatively pleased with that first one. Now the quest, though, is to get up the field for this next race, be there for the reverse grid, but also don't forget, get some points in this second race, because Tom Stevens, in the last 2 rounds, has backed up race 1 victory with race 2 victory. At Silverstone and Knockhill he did that, and he won race 2 at Thruxton and Croft as well, so he hasn't done a race 2 yet that he hasn't won, and that's going to be a concern to Matt Richards.
It certainly will be. I'm sure it's in the back of his mind going into it, and he knows what he needs to do here, of course. He has got that ballast now taken out the car. Clearly, it was affecting him by the seams of things. He really did struggle to make some inroads on the field. But I mean, he's at the point where, okay, top 15. Okay, let's look forward. Makes up some positions early on without that ballast holding him back as well. I'm sure he can get inside that top 10. And of course, it's then down to the racing gods as to how far that reverse grid goes, because it certainly looked trickier the further up we went in that order. So that top 10 were a bit more spread out than that bottom 15, shall we say, or 13, I believe it is. So it's going to be harder for him, whatever way you look at it. But if anyone's going to do it, it's Matt Richards.
It absolutely is. I wonder how aggressive he's going to be as well, because I think the downfall of his on occasion this season has been post-race losing points. We saw it last week at round 2 in Knockhill. He had all 6 points earned in race 2 at Wight away, for example. The week before, in 2 of the races at Silverstone, he had Stewart's stuff costing him points as well. This is only in recent weeks, to be fair. He didn't start off the season like that, but getting through the field, yes, is one thing, but actually doing it cleanly is such another here. And I feel like that's almost as important for Matt Richards here, because he is so... he has lost so many points in the last few weeks from penalty points.
It's that, but also he's lost that advantage he had over Stevens from at the start, where Stevens missed the first round at Donington. And of course, Matt Richards has been here for every round, and so he had that advantage going into all of this. But yeah, the last few weeks, he's picked up those results that have now, of course, they've become his dropped results, but they kind of negated that missing round from Tom Stevens. And of course, the other result where he is, he had a bit of a stinker, shall we say, was the 3rd round at Donington. He picks up 3 points for finishing 13th there. So of course, with Tom Stevens 0 points at Croft, they kind of cancel each other out. And I think now after race 1, like we said, we're pretty confident that puts Stevens ahead now in this championship. So it has swung the other way, the pendulum. And for the first time in this championship, it's not Matt Richards at the sharp end. So that could change things. It might change the driving styles a bit of these guys. Who knows? Tom Stevens might become a bit more reserved. Make sure he does just keep those solid points coming in. Or maybe he'll just continue on being an absolute force in this 2026 season of his, and just keep on winning. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll wait and see. Matt Richards, by the way, already cost him 17 points, for through penalties so far. To be fair, Stevens has lost 2 and Hart's lost 6, and the list goes on. Wilson's lost 2 as well. There's not many who haven't lost points through penalties, but nevertheless, it is something worth noting. will the ballast actually have an effect this time on Tom Stevens? Because I mentioned that he's had a race victory in race 2 every single time he's done one so far in the Pro Touring Esports Championship this season. 2 weeks ago, he did it despite the maximum ballast, as he did the time before that. Just before Christmas at Fruxton, he did it with second-placed ballast, and at Croft, he did it with second-placed ballast as well. It's almost as if the ballast is not actually having that much of an effect on Tom Stevens at the moment. So even despite that, he might well be the big favourite for this second race again.
I mean, it's more grip, isn't it? You're getting more gravity pushed down on the tyres, maybe more grip is going through the wheels. I don't know. I'm absolutely spinning a yarn there, I'm sure. But no, he does seem to overcome adversity quite easily with that. And yeah, like you say, every single time he has won that second race, and ballast it doesn't seem to affect him. So it really is impressive from him. I'm curious to see how Vaya's going to do here. Of course, he's lost out that podium chance for race number 1, but clearly qualifying says he can do something out there. So let's see what he can get at the start of race number 2. And as we always know, Ewan, it is those early corners of a race that your best opportunities, but at the same time, the flip of a coin, and it's your worst nightmare, because it's you can easily ruin your race from turn number 1. But at the same time, you can make up a lot of ground on the people around you. So it's going to be interesting to see how the drivers take this race number 2, knowing that overtaking does come at a bit of a premium here.
Yeah, it does. I mean, what did you make in terms of the actual chance of overtaking here in that first race? I thought it was better than I thought, actually. It very much felt like you're waiting for that one moment where somebody goes down the inside somewhere, and all of a sudden it's all happening, and it's side by side everywhere in the group, and we saw that a couple of times, especially further down the group. But even when it was the time for battling for second, Vaya, once he'd lost one place, ended up losing all of them pretty much, and dropping to 5th in the end of that race. So better or worse than expected, or just sort of the same here for this circuit?
I think from looking at it last time we came here, it's about the same still. I think the caliber of driver has actually increased since we last came here. So it's really impressive to see that the overtaking is still very much there, being that everyone's up their pace effectively. So on that side of things, I'd say it's about the same. But I mean, it's still impressive, like you say, and you mentioned there, I think a best way to term it is that cork in a bottle effect. You really do need to make sure you're sticking to your driver in front of you, your rival in front of you, and then any little mistake that they make, you absolutely turn that into a molehill. Turn that into a mountain out of a molehill, I should say. And take advantage of it, because that's kind of what you have to do, is really just sort of pry open the door that has just been cracked, and make the opportunity present itself in that sense. And in the onto that, it's also a psychological thing. You want to try and get in your rival's head and make them make that mistake.
Yeah, indeed. Well, can they make Tom Stevens make any mistakes here from the front? Again, the ballast race so often reflects the opening race order, although there are often a few who get involved and infiltrate the top 5. It's just hard to see Stevens giving up his dominance of this race now, despite the ballast he's got, because don't forget, the one who starts behind him has got 40 kilograms on board, the one behind him only 30. And the incremental difference is quite small until you get to 6th place, but 6th place has got to get to Tom Stevens in the time there is in this race, and I'm not sure there is enough time to get to him, to be honest. I think he's, again, favourite to now extend his lead in the championship now that he's got it.
Yeah, it certainly seems that way. I mean, we're talking about Jordan Richardson here. He's holding that 6th place spot. I mean, we've seen him, he's definitely got some pace this season. I think it did sort of show itself more at the start. He does seem to have trailed off a little bit as it has weared on, but he's still showing some brilliant racing out there, and good results that come with that. I mean, who knows, Ewan? Let's wait and find out, because it's one of those things where we just saw how Matt Richards was struggling through the field. Of course, Tom Stevens leading it from the front. It is a bit different. But maybe it is also that extra weight, just that little bit extra again. Another 20 kilos might make a difference.
Might well do. Let's see if it does, as the drivers get themselves into position, ready for race 2 here from Oulton Park. Those down towards the back are going to have to try and get into the points, maybe even try and get into the top 12 here to benefit from a reverse grid that will be taking place after this race. That could be as much as the top 12, as I say, getting reversed, but let's see in a few moments' time. 20 minutes again, of course, for race number 2 here from Oulton Park. And we are underway again. It's a good launch from the front row, but not from Grevitt, who again, Scott Mitchell-Marm has beaten off the line there. Mitchell-Marm did that in race number 1 to his competitors, and he rips around the outside here to get into 3rd position. Clean all the way down this time round. Matt Richards already up 3 places though. What a great start from him. He's already into 11th here and putting himself in a good position for the final race of the day. Through Cascades for the first time, and Stevens leads comfortably in front of Fraser Hart. And Scott Mitchell-Marm, then a bit of a gap back to him, but a clean start all the way through until we come down into the hairpin. Outside line there from Luke Mitchell. He stays where he is. Matt Richards is side by side looking to take Alan Smith now for 9th place. What a start this would be.
I mean, complete polar opposite of his start from race number 1. Fantastic getaway there from Richards, and again, the opposite of from race number 1. Everyone seems to have got such a clean getaway here at race number 2. That's fantastic to see, and now we can really start getting into the meat and potatoes of this race. This is Fraser Hart up behind Tom Stevens already into Druids. That gap is next to nothing. And then Tom Stevens does have a bit of a helping hand in Scott Mitchell-Marm, once again, currently sat 3rd position.
Yeah, indeed. Rafa Racing just having a brilliant day once again here. 1st and 4th, I think, in the first race, and 8th. And they're 1st and 3rd at the moment, with Luke Mitchell still in 8th place. But he has got a big job on his hands now, you would say, Luke Mitchell. How desperately does he try and keep Matt Richards behind? And do Wilson and Richardson, Jordan Richardson, actually try and interfere, because PowerMax Racing have got 3 out of 4 in a row here, and Luke Mitchell's the one infiltrating them. And again, I'm not sure how these guys are going to interact with each other. Is it Mitchell on the ultra defensive? Is Richardson and Wilson going to go on the ultra aggressive to try and get Richards past, or is Matt Richards going to do it on his own just fine, and Mitchell is going to be fine with that? Very difficult to know what's going to happen in that group.
We just saw Richards already pushing it. He was on the grass there out of Cascades and down towards Island. But yeah, obviously being on the grass, lost a bit of speed, no way through at the moment. This is back up the front. This is a much tighter gap from we saw from race number 1. Stevens unable to really dart off down the road, and Fraser Hart applying that pressure as you file your way down the order there. I believe this train goes all the way back to Alan Axon by the looks of things. The gaps between each car about half a second. And then we do get to Jordan Osborne, who's climbed 8 spots, Ewan. 8 positions on those opening couple of laps for Jordan Osborne. What a turnaround.
Yep, he was very disappointed at the end of race 1, but pretty pleased at the start of race 2, I think, is how he should be anyway. Darren Wright still down his inside though, and dear me, oh dear, was there contact there? I think they've just about got clear of it. Osborne, in the end, loses out to Darren Wright, I think. And they're going side by side towards turn 1 again. Oh dear, the side to side contact. Tempers will be fraying here, and on the inside, Wright gets through. I don't think Osborne wants to do that again, and he tucks in behind.
Yeah, didn't want to repeat. I can completely concur with that as well, as Richards there went down the inside of Mitchell, sorry. And he's going to try and fight it back here into Island. Oh, little release of the brake there from Mitchell just to cement that position. Fair play, and he does take that away. They are still battling quite hard though here, not over yet, and I will get the names right, but this is actually Mitchell trying to get past Richardson. Sorry, apologies there, but either way, Richardson's still doing the best defense he can, and it's not far from the name of Richards, is it? Only 2 letters off.
It's confusing having those two in the same team, and often running quite so close to one another, Richardson and Richards. But anyway, that's for us to get our head around. Maybe by the end of the season we'll manage it. Was that a change there? Or was that just? Yeah, Richardson's just dropped down to 9th there. Has that happened in the last couple of moments, or have I missed something there? Because suddenly. He's miles back. He's not even near these guys anymore. Down in 9th. He's at the front of the Alan Smith group now in 9th. So that is very odd. Just completely disappeared.
Yeah, that would have been either run wide or a bit of contact or something along those lines, I would imagine. I mean, it's we're left here to speculate, so we'll have to wait and see if we can maybe get an answer out of him later or something. I don't know, but either way, he is down in 9th now. That's the position he has to fight for, and if he can get back past his teammate or at least provide a little bit of help for his teammate, he'll be very happy. This is looking further forward though. And this is the leader, Tom Stevens, still defending hard from Fraser Hart. Mitchell, Malm, Gravett and Via all still very much tucked in that group. And then there's a tiny bit of a gap back to Wilson, but even then, it sort of opens up and then closes right back down again, depending on what part of the circuit you're at, and so it's quite hard to judge if a gap's opening. I'd say at the moment it is not.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one long line at the front of the field for now, heading through a quarter of this race, pretty much, quarter of race number 2, a race that Tom Stevens has won every single time he's been at. He wasn't at the Donington National Round, so it was won by Callum Wilson on that particular occasion. It looks like Stevens is odds on to win again here, but he does have Fraser Hart and Scott Mitchell right in behind. Fraser Hart very similar weighted to Tom Stevens here, and worth saying actually that he would have only lost a point or so, 3 or 4 points Fraser Hart from that first race of the day compared to Tom Stevens, who's the new championship leader, so he'll only be just over 30 points back, and he will have gained massively on Richards, so he's not out of this championship yet, especially if you can beat Stevens here in this race. That will be a big statement.
I mean, if he could do that, yeah, like you say, huge statement there from Fraser Hart. I mean, we thought he was going to be the championship contender with Matt Richards, and we thought Tom Stevens might have been out of it right from the first round, but he has just not given up, and of course he's got the talent and pace to go with that, and fair play, he's fought all the way back, and I think we can probably confidently say he is at the top of that championship standings at the moment. Of course, still this race and one more to go to really see how it all pans out after this evening, but it's looking strong and looking good for Tom Stevens either way you slice it. This is a bit further back down the order. Luke Mitchell having a little look there at Callum Wilson. Not much separating them, as that looked a little bit wide there for Wilson. This might open the door for Mitchell. Let's wait and see.
Is he going to dive down the inside at turn 1? It doesn't look like it. He's in an interesting position here, is Mitchell, because he won't want to attack Wilson so hard that he gets pressure from Richards or maybe even overtaken, but he will want to move forward if at all possible. So that's the fastest lap next to his name at the moment, and it's likely to stay that way, I would imagine, since the somebody off there through Cascades. I couldn't catch who that was, but
Jordan Hyde.
Yeah, okay, Jordan Hyde, was it? This is Hyde on Stuart Rolfe, isn't it?
Sorry, it was Brewster.
In towards the hairpin, yeah, Brewster, there we go. It looks similar. And so down to 20th, but straight on through Cascades. Haven't seen too much of that tonight, actually. It's just surprised me a little bit on lap 1, actually. We haven't seen more drama at Cascades, but it's no bad thing that we haven't seen too many of them off down there.
No, we haven't. Sorry for cutting across you, Ewan. I just thought I was pretty confident when I said Hyde, but even I got it wrong in that quick snap decision. But yeah, apologies for that. Either way, moving forward though, the battle still rages on at this front sharp end of the field. It's funny, it's sort of flipped it itself again, hasn't it? Race 1, we saw that the bottom half sort of having most of the battling going on, and as you look on that timing tower, there is a lot of battles that are indeed happening. I see Wright and Osborne, they're close to each other. Of course, we've got Axon, Messina and Trebek close to each other, even with Smith in that. But this one, the closest at the moment, and that's between Wilson and Mitchell, only 0.1 tenth of a second. And as they now make their way through Cascades, can Mitchell get the nice little sort of slingshot out of it and make a move here into Ireland? Of course, Wilson goes defensive. He's going to have to take the long way round. Can he get it done side by side? It's going to be a bit deep there from Wilson and just about defends him off. But Mitchell looking like he could get desperate soon.
It's really his only chance in towards the hairpin there, but when you're into the hairpin there, you just got no chance of it being shown the inside. Not least because coming off of Cascades, you're already protecting the inside line naturally anyway. You have to move it over to the left for the racing line, and if you want to defend, then you just don't move, and it's very easy. So It's difficult at the final at the hairpin side to do that. Final corner's been a bit of an overtaking chance though, and here will the run come now out of Druids for Luke Mitchell, who got this corner wrong earlier, of course, in qualifying. That's how he's sort of been buried back here throughout the races. Side by side again with Wilson, who's getting into the side of him here. Outside for Mitchell. He's got to be super careful with this now, because Matt Richards is gaining on both of them. And if Mitchell goes out too far wide, then Callum Wilson will only let his teammate in. And I think Mitchell just backed up there. Maybe breathed off the throttle in towards turn one and thought, if I try this round the outside, it could be big trouble for me later on. So he's backed away in towards Cascades again. And Luke Mitchell is continuing to apply the pressure here. Out of the turn and into Island Bend now. Is there going to be a chance for Luke Mitchell to the inside now? I think the only chance he's going to have, really, the only time he's going to attempt it is when he's shown the inside line, and that won't be very often.
No, it certainly won't be. He's going to have to try and do something a bit different and out of the ordinary to try and get a move done. But I think he's going to have to get this defensive done first, because Richards has got a fantastic exit out of Islands as they go into Hislops deep on the braking. There from Mitchell, just about gets it. Richards covered off as they get onto the exit and now up Clay Hill, and he'll be happy that he kept Matt Richards behind. And I tell you what, though, in all of that, you could argue Wilson really is doing a stellar job at keeping Mitchell behind as well, because otherwise, if Mitchell does get through, I think that could be Rafa Racing well up into that sort of top 5 area, because, you know, Mitchell is showing some really good pace here in race number 2.
Yeah, it's just not being utilised at the moment, struck behind Wilson. It's allowed the top 5 to get away, and at the front of it, Tom Stevens still in front of Fraser Hart. Now, how hard is Hart going to actually push here for the victory? I think he needs to push quite hard for it, to be honest. There's only 3 rounds to go after this one, and if he doesn't overtake him here, then the gap will still be more than 30 points to he and Stevens, whereas he could bring it below 30 points to the championship lead here for Fraser Hart if he were to get past here. That would be about 30% closer than what he was at the start of the day. But is he going to see it like that, or is he going to see it as another, load of points banked and second place again here? He might well just see it as another load of helpful points. But let's wait and see. He's not had a proper opportunity really yet to get alongside Tom Stevens.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see what Fraser Hart does. But I think you're quite right, Ewan. It's one of those things where, championship is sort of on the line. That could be a chance there up towards Druids now. Should also mention Richards and Richardson have swapped it round. So they will continue on fighting. This looks like Hart this is the closest I think he's ever been to the back of Stevens, out of Druids and towards the final few corners here. Will we see a dart down the inside and a lunge? Not on this occasion. And Mitchell Marm right there as well, just to make it a little bit trickier for Fraser.
Yeah, indeed. That is the problem. That's why he won't be taking so much of a risk at the moment. In fact, he's got teammates queuing up behind. Colin Messina down the inside of Simon Tribeck for 10th place. Or 11th rather. Tribeck stays in front there. Messina in amongst the teammates there either side of him. And he is going to pull to the inside through Cascades, is he? No, not quite again. And so has to stay behind with less than 9 minutes to go. Not long to go at all here. Will Messina go down the inside of Tribeck this time? I'm not sure he will, but we'll see. No, indeed, he did not. Oh, that's wide, though. Very wide from Tribeck, and Messina followed. Alan Axon can't capitalise on it, though, either. And again, Fraser Hart puts the pressure on Stevens, but I think the pressure's mounting here on the race leader. I think it's not getting any better the longer this goes on for Tom Stevens.
I don't want to say he's struggling, because clearly he's putting in some good quick laps, but it looks at, the pressure has not dropped off of him. This is another lap where Fraser Hart has been within 2-3 tenths of him for an entire tour of the circuit. And of course, the pressure's on him as well. He's got Rafa Racing behind him and in front of him, a bit of a tag team situation here, and he's doing his best. He's doing a stellar job at it as well. And I would argue at this point of the race, he's looking the faster of these guys at the front. But Tom Stevens, he really is doing another masterclass here in defending. We saw it last time at Knockhill. And once again, he's putting on a stellar performance. This could be the chance here, though, for Fraser Hart. Looked like it was a bit wide from Stevens. Let's see what he can do.
down the hill, and Hart's got a good run out of Cascades again, but you need to be a lot closer than this to have a go into the hairpin. Does Stevens carry on the defensive anyway? He does. Hart doesn't switch to the inside though, even once the avenue was opened up down the inside there. Gets super close around the hairpin. Would have just been bumping the back of the car in front. As meantime, Matt Richards continues to apply the pressure to Luke Mitchell as well. That's staying as it is. Callum Wilson's getting a reprieve from that, and he's catching up to these guys. He's only 2 seconds behind, so it's all happening here. 7 minutes to go in race number 2. And Tom Stevens is holding on for Fraser Hart, but increasingly clinging on, really. This is not a show of dominance like it was in race 1.
Certainly isn't. He does seem to be struggling more. I mean, with all of this as well, this is really helping Matt Richards. Of course, as you just said, Wilson's closing that gap to via Mitchell, and then Richards is right there behind Mitchell as well. So that's another real close, intense battle still happening on the circuit. I mean, this looks even closer here from Hart. I mean, he's got to do something unorthodox, I feel like, if he wants to try and get this position and make it his. But it's so difficult to get a different kind of move going when the best opportunities are, of course, in the heavy braking zones. This is that battle also just mentioned. Richards trying to have a look at Mitchell. Clearly felt he needed to defend in turn 1. He's going to have to try and force him on the grass. Almost does. Little locking of the wheels side by side. The doors are touching as they make their way through Cascades. And I think Mitchell just ahead of Richards. But my word, that was incredibly close to going all sorts of wrong.
That was very, very close to disaster. I'm not entirely sure how Mitchell held on to that, but bouncing over the curb, a bit of side-to-side contact as well. Very nearly sent him off the road in a big way through Cascades there, and Richards could have got in trouble for it, although it probably would have been a racing incident, to be honest. You always fear that you're going to lose points post-race through to anything really that you're involved in. So thankfully on that occasion it's not going to come to that, and Mitchell continues on in 7th place. If Richards could just get to 7th, then Wilson might cut him a bit of slack and let him through, but there's quite a gap there, so not sure they quite want to so obviously do that. It's obvious for the moment though that Wilson wants to stay away and get away from that group with still plenty of time left in the race. Meantime, that was wide from Fraser Hart, and Tom Stevens now has got Scott Mitchell-Marm to come through and help him here. So Fraser Hart is getting himself into a very similar position than what Luke Mitchell was, where he's got a teammate in front and a teammate of that teammate in behind him, and therefore he can't be quite as aggressive as he'd want to be in his attempts to lead this race.
Okay, for Rafa Racing, if they could get another 1-2, that is such a boost to their team's championship. That would be really something if they can manage that, especially on the bounce as well. Knockhill as that big collision there further down the order.
Osborne.
Don't tell me that was Osborne and Wright once again making contact. We saw it in race 1, and we've seen it again in race number 2. They just can't seem to separate from each other.
I think it absolutely was Osborne and Wright. They were the two closest to one another there. We'll see if there were any others involved, and they're still somehow in the points, the both of them, but that is quite remarkable. The fact they've come together again, this time a little bit further down the road towards Cascades, but not much further down. They'll be absolutely livid with each other by the end of the day, and because they're both out of the reverse grid, they'll be starting alongside each other again for the final race, so that's not going to be good for anybody, but they'll have to do it from 14th, 15th. Of course, penalties are only applied post-round and only applied points penalties rather than it doesn't affect the races subsequently for the next grid, etc., because it's not live. So they will start absolutely next to one another again. 3.5 minutes to go, 3 laps to go. Therefore, for Tom Stevens, it's going to feel like long laps here. Fraser Hart's probably got one left attempt in him here in the remaining laps.
Absolutely. You mentioned the reverse grid. I can also reveal exactly how many cars will be being flipped around for race number 3. And I think you had your crystal ball out here this evening, because you did predict a big number. It is a big number. It's the biggest number of number 12. So we're going to have a top 12 reversed for race number 3. That's going to put Tom Stevens right in amongst it for the final round, should he finish here at the top step.
And it's going to get that group really battling. Osborne, Wright and Rolfe. Sorry, not the other group. I mean, Tribeck, Messina and Axon. Sorry, the other trio. They're really going to get battling, because one of them are going to miss out on a reverse grid. Although it's hard to say any of them will really know how big the reverse grid is before they stop driving. But anyway, that's besides the point. They'll be fighting it out anyway. Fraser Hart has got a bit of a reprieve now from Scott Mitchell-Marm, and that could be a real advantage to him. Has he got the run this time coming into the final turn? I think he's got the best run he's had for a while. Stevens plays that well, though. Down the middle of the road, he doesn't move really to defend overly, or he doesn't not defend either, and that just allows him to keep Hart from even getting alongside him. 2 laps to go. If that was Hart's chance, it was defended super easily from Stevens. And Fraser Hart now is pushing ever harder to find another chance. In towards Cascades, maybe there's going to be a look here. Again, Stevens just pulls it to the middle of the road ever so briefly. He'll properly defend it to Island Bend because it is much more possible. But Fraser Hart won't be particularly enthused to go down the outside because Scott Mitchell-Marm is right there, unless he wants to take a big risk. And Fraser Hart does not. In fact, Mitchell-Marm's alongside him anyway. Stevens breaks there on the inside line. He tries to get Mitchell-Marm around the outside and it doesn't happen. Now Fraser Hart is going to get a decent run towards Hislops. And that, trying to get Mitchell-Marm through, might have opened him up to a bit of an attack, but it won't. And he continues to lead.
I mean, I can't believe nothing's changed. I mean, it's superb driving from all of them out there, you can argue. Really is something special. This is Jordan Osborne and Wright once again back on the circuit, neck and neck with each other. Osborne still leading out on that one for the moment. That's the battle for 14th as we jump to the front once again. Stevens has got a little gap that's just formed. Only half a second, but that could be enough for him to potentially cement this win. Of course, he has got one more lap to go. But it's going to be a pressure cooker, this one, as that was wide from Mitchell-Marm in that final corner, proper corner. That's opened the door for Gravett to have a little look down the inside as things are all, closing in on them once again.
Well, this is a proper queue now behind Mitchell-Marm, who will want to keep 2 Raffers on the podium at least, because that will be more good points. Cedar Vyers looking on the grass for a place past Grevitt. That's not going to happen. Callum Wilson with no ballast on board at all is now in amongst it. Still, don't forget, all 5 of those in front have some level of ballast on board on this final, the second race of the day rather. Inside line for Vyer, he's not going to get through. It is all staying as it is. Although this group now is going all the way down to 9th because of the battle at the front.
It's quite something really when you think about it. This is Messina and Axon then. That was the final time through the island corner for them. Alan Smith has lost a little bit of time to Simon Trebek there. That's another close battle still happening. I mean, this race is not decided yet. There's still another corner that you can argue an overtake is possible at. It's all going to depend on the run here up Clay Hill and through Druids for Fraser Hart. Can he try and get just an extra 10th or 2 on Tom Stevens? If he can, there's a shot in the final corner. But in fact, Stevens has opened it up, so I think that may have just decided it.
Well, this is round 6 of 9 this season, and now on 5 occasions, Tom Stevens has won the second race in the evening. An extraordinary run of results continues for Tom Stevens. He wins races 1 and 2 from Oulton Park, just as he has done in every round so far in 2026. Since we restarted at the Silverstone National Circuit, it's been an absolutely remarkable 2026 so far. Tom Stevens first, Matt Richards down in 8th place. The points gap continues to extend at the front of this field. Quite remarkably, it does, and so firmly in favour of Tom Stevens, who at the start of this race was 6 points in front also. I think he's about, 18 points or so in front by now. Richards has got to beat Stevens in the final race of the day. I think that much is already very clear.
Yeah, he certainly needs to. I mean, he's going to be 5th on the road for that reverse grid when we get to race 3, and when that gets started, Tom Stevens is going to, of course, be all the way down in 12th. The maximum total is being flipped here. And it's another one of those circuits where we thought Knock Hill they were quite lucky really, because I think it was only about 7, wasn't it, if memory serves me well. But this is another one of those circuits we've seen overtakes can happen. It is tricky to get them done though, and so 12 cars in front of you, or 11 I should say, for Tom Stevens. It's going to be a bit of an asking to see how many points he can pick up for race 3.
There are the results. Tom Stevens wins race 2 in front of Fraser Hart, who gave it a decent go in the end, but loses a few more points. Scott Mitchell-Marm ends up in 3rd place with Chris Grevitt, Sido Vyer all involved in that group in the end there. Callum Wilson caught up even towards the end. So did Luke Mitchell, Matt Richards and Jordan Richardson. Alan Smith rounded out the top 10, the first gap really from 9th to 10th. Simon Tribbett was next to Colin Messina, who will be on pole for race 3. Alan Axon just missed out on that. He was still in the group. Osborne and Wright came together seemingly on that race again. They get the final points. Stuart Rolfe just misses out there with same for Matthew Williams, Carl Benton, Jaroslav Peters and Dave Brewster rounding out the top 20. Fabien Michelon and Olivia Krasnovska was 1 lap down. Then Jordan Hyde, who failed to finish in that race. Well, that just leaves the reverse grid race. The ballast will still be applied to those top 5, by the way. But the top 12 will be reversed in time for race number 3. And that is going to be quite something to watch it. Can Stevens work his way through the field a bit more efficiently than what some of the others have been able to do, especially when they get further towards the front? I mean, Matt Richards made pretty much all of his overtakes on that one that time round, which I think does say a lot.
Certainly does, and that's what Stevens has got to replicate, is just getting everything done pretty much on that opening lap. Take advantage of anything that comes your way and use it to the best of your abilities. And if he can do that and sort of finish in that, even if he finishes in that sort of top 7, I think he'll be very, very happy with the racing he's done again this evening. Of course, he has taken the championship lead now, and so he'll look to try and extend it. I mean, it's going to be tricky with Matt Richards starting 5th. But either way, you know, he's going to have Fraser Hart 1 in front of him, and also with ballast on board. And he's the other driver out there at the moment that's looking like they could be a bit of a threat, a bit more of an outside chance, but still something to take into consideration.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in this final race. Just trying to work out what the point situation might be. Just very rough mathematics I'm doing here. I think Stevens, as I say, will be leading by about 18-ish points over Matt Richards, and he will have extended over Fraser Hart to maybe 35-ish. So Fraser Hart is actually, almost 2 times, more than 2 times as close to Matt Richards. But the problem is that as Tom Stevens is just getting away a little bit. Now I think just in the same way that Stevens, I felt when we came back after the new year, had to hit Richards hard straight away and beat him in quite a lot of races. Certainly 2 out of 3 races in the evening, I felt that he would have to beat him to start sort of whittling away that gap, because I felt that if it didn't get closed or worse, it extended, then it wouldn't be too long before Richards is really in control and not under too much pressure anymore, given the way that he started in 2025 there, Richards. But now almost the others are in a situation like that with Stevens. He's in such a run at the moment. He's got 2 teammates who are in a great run of form at the moment as well, although maybe results haven't shown for it for Luke Mitchell, particularly today. Scott Mitchell-Mom just finished 3rd place in that race as well, and all 3 of them have been in the top 10 in both races so far tonight. They're really gaining in the team's championship. Powermax Racing are facing at the moment losing their drivers' championship lead with Matt Richards, as that seems very likely now, and losing their team's championship lead. Maybe not tonight, but that is really, really closing as well.
Yeah, it is. It's. I mean, at the moment, Rafa Racing, they're hard to bet against when you're coming into every week at the moment. They've had 3 on the bounce now that have just been sensational. Even if they have a poor one here for race 3, the first 2 have been fantastic for them. So it's 3 on the bounce. They've had really good evenings of racing for the whole team, and of course Tom Stevens leading that charge. It really is something to behold, and I'm looking forward to this race 3 now, because it is, that reverse grid always mixes things up, of course, as you expect it to do, but it really is something else when you see, a driver that should be at the front, should be at the sharp end, starts in the middle of the pack, and see how they cope with that, because it's a different thing altogether. It's almost easy to say, you're at the front, just put your lap times in, hit your markers, go, and on the flip side of that, it's also hard because you've got no one to chase. But if you're in the middle of a pack, you've got so much more to take into account. Cars around you, keep an eye on your mirrors, keep an eye on the guy in front of you. It's a different thing altogether. It's a different beast, and it's brilliant seeing the guys who are normally at the front get chucked in the middle and see how they cope.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting final race coming up in a few moments. By the way, the warm-up session is just underway as things stand. Only a few drivers seem to drive in these warm-up sessions, as we've talked about before. It's a real divide as to whether you want to just take a bit of a break and relax, or indeed whether you want to stay in the rhythm and keep driving. We'll be back, of course, for the next rounds in 2 weeks' time. To remind you, 22nd of February, same time, same place. That will be at the Donington Grand Prix layout on that occasion. We've already been to Donington National. Donington Grand Prix layout is a little bit different, though. And to be fair, in the real world, we don't see the British Touring Car Championship anyway go there very often at all. I don't think. It's always the national layout when they're at Donington. So it's going to be fun to see how they go around there in 2 weeks' time. I do think it will suit the touring cars quite well, though, just in the same way that Donington National does. I don't really know if Grand Prix adds or takes anything away. It really adds that Melbourne hairpin in the final turn as overtaking chances, really, which doesn't. I don't think it changes the circuit too much. To be honest, we should see something pretty similar, I think, than what we saw in round number 1. Maybe with a little bit more understanding of who should be up towards the front as we're properly getting into this season now.
Yeah, it's a weird one because it always reminds me of Ayrton Senna and that fantastic start you see with him gaining 5 positions on a rainy lap back in I want to say the 80s. I can't tell you what year, but that's what Donington, not the national. The other one, you just said it, can't think of it, doesn't matter. You know what I'm talking about, the longer one. It always reminds me of that, and it's always one of those tracks that it provides a little bit extra, I think, Ewan, in my opinion. It gives you that extra chance, 2 chances really, to get an overtake, of course, into heavy hairpins and braking zones. So if anything, I think it sort of amplifies the aspects of Donington and raises it another level. But equally, the national circuit is a hugely popular one, particularly with the touring cars. So I think whichever one you go to there, it's something, it gives you a bit of something different each time, but in a fantastic way both times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, warm-up is just been restarted, I think, at the moment. I'm not sure whether that's just my timing screen. No, we're just sorting things out at the moment from the grid, which of course reverses the top 12 once again here. It's going to put guys like we saw in that group towards the back end of the field. Guys like Alan Smith, Simon Trivet, Colin Messina up towards the front. Alan Axon just missed out there. And in fact, 2 of the 3 Unlimited Esports cars just missed out there, finishing 13th and 14th place. But Messina on pole. I think we might have seen that Messina on the front row before, actually, in one of these reverse grid races. But it's always such a great chance to see somebody different take a victory. Or indeed, is it going to be the likes of Jordan Richardson, who's only 4th, or Matt Richards, who's only 5th, who come through to win? I suspect it may be the latter, but there is that chance for the surprise name to go on and win in race 3.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you could be right. I mean, with everything there, it's one of those weird things. But I'll tell you what I've been looking at, Ewan, while we're just sort of waiting here for the next race to get unfolded. I've read the rest of Jordan Osborne's quote. I don't think I quite understood the entire quote the first time I was reading it. It's an absolute belter. And I really want to finish it for everyone who is watching and listening, because it's fantastically written. Apart from the bit earlier with the whole Stockholm Syndrome, the rest of the quote goes on to say, "Nailing Cascades flat out is a sensation better than finding 20 quid in an old pair of jeans. However, Oulton Park is a toxic lover. It can sometimes, that's so controversial, but it can sometimes beat you, break your suspension, and refuses to let you overtake and scares you half to death near Druids. But then you hit that perfect apex at Old Hall with turn 1, and the car just settles beautifully, and you think, God, I love this place." Just absolutely balmy is the word I kind of want to go with, but it's just so beautifully written at the same time. It really is fantastic.
I don't know. The more you've read that now, the more I don't really know what he's on about. But
no, I don't. I think I've lost it, but
he's gone quite overboard. but I don't know. I do like this circuit to drive. I think it is quite engaging to drive around here, but I'm not sure about it as a racetrack. The problem for me is that it's just a bit too easy to defend here. Well, often when we see other places like Knockhill, to be fair, last time, and certainly Silverstone National the time before that, there was real indecision and decisions to be made about where you defend, where you place your car, what that means for the next few corners. In my mind, you just don't really get that round here. The big chances down at the final hairpin, You protect the inside line through there very easily because you're already on that line after Cascades anyway, and you just can't go around the outside at all. Then there's the final corner where you can't, you can make an overtake for sure, but how is there really a knock-on effect for the next few turns? We haven't seen so much of it. So yeah, as a racetrack, I mean, it's just a little bit tricky as far as overtaking is concerned, but we'll put that properly to the test here for the reverse grid race, because some of the top guys are coming through the field, and the top three especially have got a big chance to take a victory here that they wouldn't otherwise get the chance to do so. Colin Messina, Simon Trebek and Alan Smith, the top three.
You know what I think it is now you mention it? I think it's the fact that there is no complex of corners that are nailed together. This is the only one I can think of is here with hill slops and going into this next set of few corners. But the thing is, they're too quick and you're not really slowing down again. You're just picking up speed. So it's almost just a hair, not a hairpin, it's just a chicane as it definitely is. And so between each corner, there's too much of a straight. One corner doesn't knock on to the next. So I think you get a lot of time to make that decision of, do you want to defend it? Do you not? And you don't have to snap decision what you do. And I think that's maybe why what you've just described, Ewan, is it seems too easy to overtake. That's just my take. It's just what I'm literally thinking in my head right now. But I think it has some legs as a decent theory.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, let's see how the final race of the evening goes. It's got very overcast suddenly here at Oulton Park. Track temperature a bit lower than what it was for the previous races, but it's still relatively warm and nothing too much to worry about. Of course, the final race of the day always takes place a little bit further towards the evening time, and hence why it's also a little bit darker as well. But the final drivers are pulling themselves onto the grid now, and we are almost ready to go here from Oulton Park. The final race of the day, the reverse grid race in the Pro Touring Esports Championship here from Oulton Park. Oh dear, and not a good start at all from the front row at all. Here comes Richardson through the middle as Alan Smith gets off to a decent start too. He's looking to the inside of Messina, but he can't take the lead. Richardson can't even take third away from Trebek, but now he will as Trebek runs wide. Matt Richards moves up to fourth place as well as Luke Mitchell tries to follow the Marabacks drivers. He can't get to the inside of Wilson. There's contact between the two. Stevens still stuck in 11th place as he's only got past Fraser Hart so far, coming down the hill for the first time. Into the hairpin they go. Who is going to be where at the end of all this? The Rapper Racing drivers on the outside there. Mitchell Malm on the outside of Hart, who is trying to get through at the moment, and Tom Stevens is there all there as well. All happening on this opening lap, but Messina retains the lead, and for the most part people staying where they are, especially further down the field.
I honestly thought that the Rafa cars were going to have a coming together, and I'm thinking, do not break rule number one. Do not collide with your teammates. Luckily they didn't, and everyone is all facing the right direction still. But yeah, we saw Stevens there. He's gained 2 from the start, Hart and Gravett, which is probably 2 of the harder ones that he needs to get by. He's got his 2 teammates ahead, so they should be easy to get on by, shall we say. They'll probably just let him through. But either way, decent start for Stevens. Maybe not the perfect ideal one, but it certainly is strong, as Matt Richards only able to pick up the 1 from Trebek, heading wide out of turn number 1, and that having a bit of a knock-on into Dentons and Cascades. And here he is now, right up behind his teammate, looking to make probably an easy move.
Absolutely. So Richardson and Richards in 3rd and 4th. They're in behind Colin Messina and Alan Smith 1st and 2nd. How easy are these guys going to find it to get through? Well, Richards is going to get past his teammate, I think, without too much trouble here, depending on what they decide to do. Behind, Callum Wilson's got a big job of defending here from the likes of Luke Mitchell and everybody else. He's past Simon Trebek now and into 5th position. But Wilson has got to hold back the Rapper Racing drivers as much as possible, because this could become a very difficult 3rd race for the likes of Tom Stevens if it's allowed to be by the likes of Callum Wilson and the other Powermax drivers. Zia Vire is just in front of Scott Mitchell-Marm and Tom Stevens' and he inadvertently could make this quite difficult as well. The lap 1's gone now. That big opportunity to gain places on the opening lap's gone, and so they've got to try and really fight hard to come through. Fraser Hart more than anybody. He's actually gone backwards on these opening laps.
Yeah, he lost out straight away from Stevens, and then of course he just hasn't been able to really make up any more ground, and he's now stuck behind Gravett, as this is going to be side by side. This is Trebek and Mitchell then. Trebek just seems to be a little bit of a cork in a bottle here at the moment. Via and Mitchell Marm getting pretty cozy with one another, and I'm sure Tom Stevens is just watching on for the moment, happy to wait, bide his time, and no doubt, I'm sure, if anything goes wrong, he'll pick up the pieces as well, as that's more action there for the Rocket team. This one being Jordan Osborne, though. I did notice that Wright has not made his way into the session, so Osborne and Wright cannot have a coming together in race number 3, at least.
In towards the... Oh, contact in the background, surely, as Grevitt there was side by side with Tom Stevens. This is a dangerous position for Stevens to be in, really, with his teammates all around as well. He's got Mitchell Marm just in front. The concertina effect, though, created partly by his teammates, very nearly got Tom Stevens in some trouble there. Grevitt and Hart right in behind here, but again, they've got to try and do this efficiently. Luke Mitchell's at the front of this group and could really blow it open if indeed he can get past Simon Trebek at the front, but he's struggling to do that for now. Here he goes in towards the right-hander. No, he's not going to go down the inside there. And so he continues to struggle on, continues to try and get past. Grevitt goes wide now. And here comes Fraser Hart, surely into the final corner. Does Grevitt feel the need to defend as Mitchell goes down the inside of Trebek? He gets through. Via's going to get through on Trebek as well. Now it's gone off, and the group will start to disintegrate, and they'll start to try and file past Simon Trebek, but it's not all going to happen at once.
Mitchell Marm looking at it here into turn number 1. There he goes, deep on the brakes. Fantastic overtake there for Scott Mitchell Marm on Simon Trebek. And Trebek really is just sort of a stone in water at the moment, losing positions left, right and centre. There goes Tom Stevens as well, down the inside of Cascades. Brilliant late on the brake move there by the Rafa Racing team driver, up to 9th position as well. So like I say, I think if he can get to sort of P7, Tom Stevens has really had an absolute phenomenal racing evening here. If he can pull that one off any higher, and he really is going above and beyond, not only for his championship, but also for the team championship.
Well, absolutely. That will be starting to really factor into, as I'd imagine, definitely the minds of the Powermax racing drivers, considering the points losses they've been taking in the last few races. And certainly over the course of the last few rounds. Hart now looking to get past Trebek as well, and he can't do it. And if he can't follow those guys so closely, then he's going to get a worse off result than them to a big degree here into the final turn. He's just not close enough, and unfortunately Hart hasn't really taken advantage of the overtakes in front, because as Grevitt goes pretty wide there, when you're in a group like this, you've got to follow the driver in front of you pretty closely so that you can try and sort of capitalise on their work, and unfortunately Fraser Hart hasn't done that here.
No, he's I don't want to say he's struggling, because I don't think he looks like he's struggling at the moment, but he's not doing what he needs to do, I think. Let's put it that way. I tell you what is impressive though, we've jumped back here at the front. Messina still leads with Alan Smith behind. Those two of course have been just sort of hovering around that sort of top 10, like right at the back of it, sort of 11, 12. Of course that's where they would have finished, but even in race 1 and 2 that's where they were. And the fact that they've held that lead and the gaps have not really opened or closed is really impressive stuff from these guys. Could be a good result on the cards.
Well, top 4 are starting to break away from the rest. Then there's gaps in the field, really, at the effectively decided by how quickly they got past Simon Trebek earlier, who's now down to 12th place, by the way. He's also been overtaken by Chris Grevitt after Hart got through and into the top 10, so that's how those gaps have been created. But for as long as Colin Messina and Alan Smith are at the front, then these 4 are going to continue to be caught, I would imagine. How urgent do Richardson and Richards see this? I think I suppose they've got Callum Wilson behind there, but if Luke Mitchell gets to them, then their race could become a lot more difficult. And at the moment, as I mentioned earlier, the guys who start at the front for this reverse grid race have perhaps a better chance at getting a reverse grid race victory than what we are going to see throughout much of the rest of this season, because it's just so difficult to overtake, and not even Richardson and Richards can manage it just yet. Here comes Jordan Richardson, though, in towards the hairpin. Is he close enough? He's looking. Smith seeing him coming and just sort of half blocking him off, and he's not quite got to the apex there. So now it's been brought to his attention. Richardson is trying to get past, and Alan Smith has got to be much more careful looking into mirrors in the future.
It almost looked like both of them went into that a bit half-hearted. So Richardson didn't really commit to the overtake, but also Smith didn't really commit to the defend, and yeah, that could have come out worse for both of them. Luckily, it didn't on this occasion, as that gap has opened ever so slightly there on the exit of Hislop's up Clay Hill now. I'm quite surprised here, Ewan, we haven't seen the swap from Richardson and Richards to sort of help not only the teams championship, but I would argue the drivers, of course, too, because they know they would have done the maths themselves. They're looking at the championship all the time, race after race. They know where they need to sort of finish each time, and being that they're on the same team, it doesn't matter team position points-wise, but it does for the drivers, and I'm quite surprised they haven't done the swap.
Yep, I am as well, I must say. But I'm sure that will be on its way in the next 10 minutes or so. As I mentioned before, Richards has really got to beat Stevens in this race, but how many points is he going to take off him is the real question here for the both of them. Fourth place point, just 13 points and 7 for a ninth place finish. So not too many points gained there really for Richards. Only 6 points as things stand. So that's why he's got to get into these more advanced positions of, at least on the podium, if not winning this race, because that's where the points increments go above 1, which should just help him to close the margin now, which Tom Stevens probably knows that he's going to come out with now at the end of the day. If my maths is correct, that he's got about 18 points at the moment. He only needs to finish in the top 10 or so to guarantee himself a championship lead by the end of the day. And yes, if Richards wins and Stevens stays where he is, then that lead wouldn't be very large, but it would be a turnaround compared to the start of the day, and a big turnaround compared to the first couple of rounds of this season, where Richards was leading by a very long way. On board with Alan Smith here, who I guess sees the urgency himself here. He knows that he's being pressured, and so if he wants to get ahead of Colin Messina and wants to win, then he's got to get ahead of them before he gets overtaken by the Power Max Racing drivers behind.
I'm still amazed at how wide they go out of the exit there at turn 1. They're all on the grass, and I'm surprised the game doesn't sort of pick up on that one, but apparently that's part of the racing here. This is going to be interesting though. This is almost 3 wide further down the order. I want to see, this is Carl Benton, Osborne and Williams going at it through Cascade. Just like that, Benton sweeps through. Thank you very much. You two can have a little barmy there if you like, and I'm just going to pick it all up. Happy days.
Yeah, this is a big group here, and they're all tripping over each other for 14th position. Oh no, and there it is. There's contact and a spin down front of the field. Oh, how has everybody avoided that? That was quite extraordinary. That was set to be a big smash up coming out of the hairpin. Somehow they get away with it, but the battle for 14th was always going to end like that, I think, with the group we saw. Unfortunately, it has resulted in a spin a little bit further down the field. Meantime, at the front, they're still putting the pressure on the top 2. Colin Messina still leads, though. And what a victory it would be if he could hang on. I know there's a very long way to go, but he came in today 17th place in the point standings. Didn't score a point until the second race at Croft, which was round number 2. And he hasn't finished inside the top 7 this entire season. Suddenly, he's leading this race, and he's more than halfway complete, halfway on his way to a race victory.
Yeah, it really is good, calm, collective driving. But I mean, Alan Smith is also putting on quite a performance and show here himself. He also hasn't picked up a podium this season. Of course, if they do, either one of them pick up that podium, they're out of that championship for most points without a podium. But I don't think that bothers them all that much at this point of the season. They'll be happy getting on that podium, and of course being on that top step even greater. But they have still got trouble bearing down on them in Richardson and Richards. He's got the whole Power Max team actually bearing down on them, because Wilson is right there as well for company. So one slip up and that could be all their hard work undone, as what's happened between Via and Mitchell Marm, both in pit lane and dropping down the order.
That is puzzling. We'll see what happened there, but it's very synchronised, dropping down the field, and it seems out of this race. Still everybody running, so they will drop right to the bottom as well at the end of it all. But that's 2 big players in this race gone, and for Rapper Racing, not ideal either. Stevens and Mitchell are 6th and 7th, though, to be fair. So, actually, Stevens benefiting from those two dropping down because they were both ahead of him. But nevertheless, that's not good news for Rapper Racing. Stevens with over 3 seconds in front, so that might be his limit now. But it's down to Richards, really. He can't end up in this race just 4th, surely. That would only give him a few points gain.
Yeah, he needs to make a move on. Just under 9 minutes, and he really does need to sort of go for it. Because if he doesn't anytime soon, then it's just going to get really, really difficult here. He needs this win to keep that championship fight, close going into the next round, because as it stands at the moment, Tom Stevens, he's now in that 7th, as that was the move there for Richardson. Oh, it's all going to happen here now, because that's going to get them out of position and going to be slower through this next part. Richards is going to capitalise. He takes Richardson for one. The Power Max team there, all side by side, just vying for it. Mitchell in and amongst it as well. Who is going to come out on top by the time they sort themselves out through Druid side by side as well here for Richardson and Mitchell. Mitchell unable to get a single position out of all of that, and Richardson has lost 2.
And the problem here is that they haven't actually dealt with the problem, which is that Alan Smith's still in front of them. And Mitchell is now trying to get involved in the action. Richardson going backwards has really opened himself up here to attack from Mitchell into the final turn, although it's not really worked on this occasion. And so he will at least stop it at 5th. But the only thing that's happened is Power Max have changed their order. It's not actually dealt with the problem of the cork in the bottle, which is Alan Smith and Colin Messina. Now, Messina's got a gap here. I think that might have sealed him a race victory, or very close to it, because there's only 7.5 minutes left, and Alan Smith still hasn't been dealt with here. Matt Richards, if he wants to win this race, has got to be quick. As meantime, Mitchell tries to get past Richardson now for 5th on the outside. That's the best effort of anybody going around the outside of the hairpin we've seen so far today. There's a bit of jockeying over the straight, but he's going to get up into the top 5, is Luke Mitchell here.
Yeah, nice overtake. A little bit of a naughtiness on the exit, but I think they'll be all right with that going forward. This has definitely closed the gap, though, for Stevens. Only 1.5 behind Richardson. So if this battling keeps going on at this fierce rate, you could see him get maybe a few more positions by the end of this race. Who knows? We'll keep an eye on the gaps for you all as well. But this is the gap between Richards and Smith. You can see how close it was there, bumper to bumper. And this is how close it is from the TV. There's a lock up there for Richards. Just got it stopped. And Alan Smith still holding on to P2. But for how long?
Well, indeed. Here we go in towards turn 1 again. And through goes Richards. So finally it's happened. Oh, no, he's gone too deep. And Smith takes it straight back again. Through into Cascades. He could defend the inside into turn 2. He's not quite clear, is he? Oh, he slides as well. He's slid himself in front of Richards. That is an error from Matt Richards you would not expect to see in towards turn 1. He'd done the hard work, and now he's got to do it again. This time into the hairpin, though. Smith doesn't defend it, and Matt Richards is going to get through eventually, but again he goes wide. He's made that mistake twice now. He's going to get boxed in, though, now, Alan Smith, and that's the problem of being on the outside, by the way. Callum Wilson's surely going to get through now, or at least he's going to fight with him into Hislops, which could well benefit Richards. No, he won't. I think he's been hit by his teammate. Matt Richards goes off. Oh, my goodness. Luke Mitchell's up to 2nd. Spinning and dropping down the field is Callum Wilson. Alan Smith is up to 4th again. And Tom Stevens is now in this very same group.
Oh my God, what on earth have we just witnessed? We saw some fantastic racing there from Alan Smith. The defence from him was impeccable. I'm quite surprised he didn't go for it into Islands, but either way, still in this fight, and it's all just been turned on its head once again as we got into Hislops. Round goes one of the Power Max cars, dropping down the order, and through goes Stevens Hart Gravette. Stevens now in 6th, and right on the back of this pack now, Ewan. This has just gotten even more interesting.
It absolutely has. It's turned into a day where Stevens could even conceivably get in front of Richards to actually take points off him in the final race too, but as unlikely as that is, it's his teammate. Callum Wilson gets into Matt Richards, who was in 2nd, slides his way through, and in the end, it's Luke Mitchell who slips through into 2nd place, and he's got the best chance of catching Colin Messina. Now, Richards, to be fair, is still going to get a podium, but it's brought everybody into Stevens' grasp as well here. So all the positions are at his feet now, and it could be turning into almost the perfect day now for Tom Stevens.
I mean, he broke rule number 1 of racing: don't hit your teammate. It's one of those things. He was going for the move. We saw how it panned out. I mean, it's easily done. Maybe a little bit too over-ambitious, but you know, at the end of the day, it's this is how it's played out, and it's really difficult when you do hit your teammate like that, because especially when you know the fault is all yours and it's not a 50-50. But Richards losing only the 1 spot, and he is still close enough to potentially pick it back up by the end of this race. Only a second gap between him and Mitchell, but Mitchell is, of course, a very quick driver. He's been, I think, itching to get past sort of Wilson a few times now this evening, and finally has that little bit of free air. I'm not sure if he's going to catch Messina, but hopefully we can see what sort of pace he has.
Well, there's not long to go now. Carlo Messina surely is going to take a famous victory here in race number 3, but behind anything could happen really, based on what we've seen so far. This is Fraser Hart and Chris Grewitt. Hart's really just been picking up positions from those who have had trouble here so far today. And that's not a terrible rate to do race 3, but he has lost points on Stevens for the 3rd race in a row, which is going to cost him in the championship, you would imagine. Alan Smith with Richardson defending from Richardson again here for 4th position. Is this going to change late on as well? Because Smith, I think, will feel a little bit hard done by that he's not on the podium places anymore. Don't forget, it wasn't him who was hit, of course, but he was very much delayed by Richards and Wilson's contact. It allowed Mitchell to slip through on all of them. And that's how Alan Swift's not on the podium anymore, so he will feel this is he's been slightly hard done by as well.
Yeah, it's a shame, because the defensive masterclass, I'm going to say it, from Smith has really been something to behold. Of course, race 1 and 2, he's been that sort of around about P10. He gets the chance, it's right there for him for the taking, and he really has sort of grabbed the ball by both horns, and even 4th position, I think he's going to come away happier that one. Like you say, bit poor hard done by, it's not a podium, but still 4th spot is a good haul of points for him in this championship. Should give him a nice boost in this latter stage. 2 minutes left on the clock though, Ewan. Messina with a 1.5 second advantage over Luke Mitchell, and at that rate he is not catching him fast enough.
Yeah, it's 2 laps to go. So he probably needs about 2nd a lap, so he's got a chance by the end of the last lap, but that's not going to happen now. Oh, Smith goes wide. Smith goes a little bit wide there, and Richardson's underneath him now, coming out of the hairpin. Is that going to give him a chance into his lops? We know that you can brake late on the inside here if you want to, but will Richardson risk it all here on the inside? I'm not sure he will do. He's not close enough, but he's got to keep applying that pressure, because that was a half mistake there from Smith, even if it didn't quite open the door.
Certainly was. He's really got to keep his wits about him here in this this lap, and then 1 more to go. But he is still under pressure from Richardson. He has done incredibly well though, Smith here. I will still be singing his praises. But yeah, it's all around this final lap now. Can he hang on to that 4th spot is the question. And the thing is as well, it's that cork in the bottle effect once again for him. You've got Stevens, Hart, Grewitt lined up ready to pounce as well. So he really needs to make sure, if he does lose the spot to Richardson, make sure it is just the 1.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? It could well turn into 4 very easily. So that's why he'll be so desperate to keep him behind here on this very last lap of the night here at Oulton Park. Down the hill in towards Cascades again for these guys, and Smith is holding on for now in front of Richardson, and then Tom Stevens, who's looking, and he's not going to the inside through the hairpin. He's got enough points today. He's not got quite as many as what he did 2 weeks ago, where he scored a massive 56 from getting on the podium again in the final race after winning the first 2. This is only going to be 6th place in the final race this time, but nevertheless, it's a massive haul of points, and he wouldn't want to ruin it now by slipping down the inside, or trying to barrel down the inside even on Jordan Richardson, who has moved into the top 5. So yeah, that will stay as it is, unless Hart wants to do anything there, which I wouldn't imagine he does. Carlo Messina might have got a bit nervous on these last couple of laps, because he has slowed down quite a lot, and he's being caught quite quickly. His last lap time is 3 tenths slower than Luke Mitchell's and 8 tenths slower than Matt Richards. I think the final one might be even slower, but it doesn't. Oh, he's gone! No, he's gone deep! I don't believe it! He was a corner away from a famous victory, and Carlo Messina's just rusted up for himself here. Luke Mitchell's going to just about scamper through for a victory. Oh, I don't believe it! Carlo Messina's made a mistake in the final corner of the race. to miss out on a victory. It would have been his first of the season for a driver who hadn't finished higher than 8th place in the season so far. He's now got a podium at least, but he hasn't got the win. The most extraordinary finish you're ever likely to see. An unforced error like I've never seen before in that scenario. And Carlo Messina somehow has managed to not win this race.
I'm almost speechless. I don't know how he's just done that. He could have taken it easy as he likes. He could have coasted it through that corner and still picked up the win. It's a small, easy mistake to make, a locking of the wheel, and he's gone deep. And I just can't believe it, though. Carlo Messina, he's going to be so gutted. I cannot believe what we've just witnessed, Ewan. That is something special I don't think I've ever before seen in sim racing, let alone sort of in the real world as well. My word.
What was that all about? Luke Mitchell ends up winning the race somehow ahead of Matt Richards, who nearly came through and won it himself, by the way, from third place. Colin Messina ends up third. I think he was just really nervous on those last couple of laps. Got to say, 27.2 on the last lap. That wouldn't have been all in that mistake. That's the slowest lap of anybody on the last lap there. Alan Smith finishes fourth in front of Jordan Richardson with Tom Stevens sixth place. He gets the championship lead and indeed extended over Fraser Hart in the last race because of that result there. Matt Richards does gain a few points back on him though. Chris Grevitt, Alan Axon, Simon Tribeck round out the top 10. The final point scorers, Carl Benton, Matthew Williams, Jordan Hyde, Stuart Rolfe and Jaroslav Fides. The final finishers, Callum Wilson and Olivia Krasanovska. And then the long list of non-finishers, Fabio Michelon, Dave Brewster, Sido Vaya, Scott Mitchell-Marm and Jordan Osborne rounding out the field. Well, let's deal with, we've got all the rapid racing drivers waiting for us at the moment, so let's deal with the race-free race winner first of all. Luke, welcome in. Congratulations on a very surprising race 3 victory here tonight from Oulton Park. Just talk us through the emotions on that last lap there.
Well, I thought I'd followed him. I thought I'd gone into the gravel as well and gifted Matt the win. So I feel really bad for Carlo because he deserved to win that. He held on really well, and obviously there was incidents further in the race with Wilson, Richards and Smith, which gave me 3 positions as well. So very, very fortunate, but I'll take it. Very happy with it.
Yeah, we'll take any race win that comes your way, obviously, with the second one of the season here tonight. We often talk for you, especially about the team game going on here. The fact that you've got a teammate who's now leading the championship, by the way, and the drivers, and you're also a team on the march in terms of the team's championship. How much of that is an actual factor of your thinking, though, amongst the 3 of you when you're actually driving here, team's championship or indeed Tom's aspirations and the drivers?
Yeah, it's one that we're trying to catch PMR, but we left it quite late to sort of get the ball rolling on that. But our strategy at the moment is put Tom in the best position. If he's winning races, that puts the team in the best position to try and close the gap anyway. So we are going for both. Obviously Tom's got the better chance to win the drivers than we have the teams, but we won't give up until we literally can't.
Well, congrats on the race 3 victory tonight and a solid couple of other results as well. And thanks for coming to chat to us after the races as well.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thanks so much. Luke Mitchell, winner in race number 3 here tonight. Let's chat to the race winner of race 1 and 2 here, Tom Stevens. Tom, welcome in. Congratulations on winning race 1 and 2 earlier and getting the points lead now, by the way, overtaking Matt Richards, I believe. But tell us about that final race. That would have probably been the most action-packed of the 3 races for you, I'm imagining. How did it go from your perspective?
Yeah, thank you very much. For sure, race 3 was the trickiest one. I mean, I kind of went into it and I wasn't really sure what to expect on the open couple of laps because I'd led the first 2 races, so I didn't know how much everyone was going to check up. But I got a decent start in the end. I managed to get the jump on Fraser and Chris, so that was all good. And then the ballast set in, and I just saw everyone ahead of me kind of just gradually pull away, which was fine. And I've got to say, I was definitely very lucky in that race because unfortunately, I think Scott and Sido, they disconnected. So that was 2 free positions. And then some chaos ensued up ahead, so that allowed me to catch up to the others. So P6 in the end, race 3, pretty happy with that.
Yeah, I can imagine so. And taking the points lead as well. I want to go back to race 2 as well, though, because that seemed like much more pressure upon you. Race 1 seemed pretty comfortable to me, even though the gap was quite small for a long time. But what was race 2 like there? Was the ballast really playing a role in that, or was it just driving? Fraser Hart just put you under pressure?
I mean, look, Fraser's a really good driver. He's really quick, and I know how good he is on the tyres. So my mindset into that race was just keep the lead. I know how to defend, so just try my best in defence and just no mistakes. And it would be really important for the last half because, my God, I was struggling towards the end of my tyres. But fortunately, I just managed to just about stay ahead of him and, yeah, claim the win.
Well, congratulations on that. Another 2 victories to your name tonight. And a championship lead now, too, over Matt Richards and Fraser Hart. So congratulations on that. Tom, and thanks for chatting to us at the end of the day as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much. Tom Stevens there, finishing in first place for races 1 and 2 tonight. And to finish off with Rapper Racing, Scott Mitchell-Marm has also joined us as well here at the end. Scott, welcome in. Good to have you with us at the end of race 3. Just briefly touch on the badge one first before we end on a good note. What happened in the final race for you there?
So this must be what it's like when everybody complains to me about journalists starting with the bad questions. I think Cedo and I had a very strange kind of simultaneous disconnection. Just nothing we can do about that. I was speaking to Tom and Luke in the Discord, and Tom said that sometimes that can happen. 2 cars following each other is maybe the game goes a bit buggy. So yeah, it's a bitter way to end a good evening, but the main thing is the team points.
Absolutely. I was going to ask about team points as well, because it's such a factor when we're talking about the races, but we don't actually get to hear from you very often about how it's really being thought of within Rapper Racing, especially. First of all, how often are you talking about it before and after races in terms of T points and where Power Maxed are and how many you've gained and lost and all that kind of thing? And second of all, how likely and what chance do you give yourselves that you can reel in what is realistically quite a big gap in the remaining 3 rounds of the season?
Yeah, so despite the cliche being like, oh, you never look at that, no, we're not paying attention to it, we're focusing on ourselves, that's an absolute nonsense. We're talking about it all the time. By the time we properly sign off in the evenings, either Luke or myself have probably done a bit of mental maths and tried to work out what the situation is. Obviously, with the drop scores, that complicates it slightly. Because we're trying to do everything that we can for Tom in the Drivers' Championship, and if we do that, then the Teams Championship follows. But like both are important. But Tom is such a good driver, and we're really pleased that he's driving with us this season, that he's trusted us to do that. And we didn't do a good enough job in the first. Donington was okay, but the next couple we didn't do a good enough job with testing and preparation and getting the car in a good window, and it's not good enough for a driver like him. So we are playing catch up. I think he's got a fantastic chance in the Drivers' Championship. The Teams' Championship's a longer shot, but yeah, we'll do what we can. We're on a mega run at the moment, which is really nice. It would help if I started turning up before qualifying started, though. I'll be honest.
Well, thanks for coming to chat to us and staying on afterwards and chatting to us here on the broadcast. And congratulations. I know you had a couple of good. The final race wasn't so good, but I know you had a couple of good races earlier. So congratulations on that, and thanks again for chatting to us.
Very much.
Thanks so much. That's Scott Mitchell at the end of tonight's racing from Oulton Park. And interesting to hear, Ash, just how much they're thinking about the Teams Championship. Scott saying there that if they get Tom to the lead of the drivers, then the teams will take care of itself. Well, ironically, I think they'll be leading one and not the other at the end of tonight, because Tom, I think, will be leading the drivers by about 10 points. They're still playing catch-up in the teams, but so interesting to see how they're talking about that and how much they've improved as well. And Scott listing a couple of reasons for that there as well.
I mean, yeah, it's brilliant to get the insight into what actually they do talk about behind the scenes, sort of in between the weeks of us going racing. So it's brilliant to hear from all of them. I'd love to hear from some of the other teams as well, what goes into their sort of prep work as well, because I think I did want to ask, have they changed anything since the new year? And I think he's kind of told us the answer within what we have asked him already. It just sounds like they've been making sure that they turn up, put a bit more of the effort and work into it beforehand, and it's showing. It really is showing, and it's fantastic to see them sort of on the upward trajectory. I mean, going into this round, Ewan, they were 68 points behind Power Max Racing. I'm pretty sure they would have closed that gap a little bit, but like you say, it is a bit more of an outside chance. But either way, still a chance there to be had. And now, of course, they've got their star driver on the top of the driver's standing, so they're going the right way.
Yeah, because there's only 2 scores being taken from each race in the teams, it does reduce the amount that you can actually gain each time. For example, at Knock Hill, they gained 2. So that does make it quite hard to close in a 60-odd point gap. But they're plugging away, and as they've told us, they will keep plugging away until they can no longer. Next time out, we will be at the Donington Grand Prix circuit in 2 weeks' time, the 22nd of February, 7:30 UK time, live as always. Same time you found this broadcast here tonight. So I hope to we'll see you all then, because it should be another good round of this season as it continues to drive towards a conclusion. Tom Stevens will be the new Drivers' Championship leader after another 2 victories here from Oulton Park tonight. What's going to happen next time in the Pro Touring Esports Championship? Find out by joining us same time, same place in 2 weeks' time from the Donington Grand Prix circuit. For now, I've been Ewan Leary alongside Ashley Denman on commentary with Rich Werrell behind the cameras of this broadcast tonight. We'll all be back from Donington in 2 weeks' time. Hope to see you then. For now, it's goodbye.